Back in 2021, I put together a list of distilleries that I felt guilty I was ignoring. Things that had official bottles released from them, but something made me continually just ignore them, just walk past them. I made the list and I shared it with everyone back in January of 2021, and it's taken us until now, but tonight we'll finally complete that original list. Probably added to it over the years, but tonight we'll be able to cover that list and finish it off. So I've got 4 or 5 bottles that are not under the radar. These are not things that are waiting to be discovered. These are not things that are loved and kinda selfishly kept secret. These are things that is out there in plain sight, and yet somehow me, the vPub, and I suspect a lot of you too, tend to ignore them a wee bit. So we're gonna cover them tonight and see if we can do what we've done in the past and uncover a gem or 2. Looking forward to it as always, and I'll see you in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday night. Welcome to the vPub. I hope you're all doing very, very well. It's nice to see you all in. Yes, of course, I have to say at the opener, you're all potentially expecting tonight to be a Roddy night. Our pal, our favourite whiskey guru, our favourite beardy Glaswegian. He's not feeling very well. He was confident that he would be back to a strong enough position to dial in remotely and maybe suggested that, but we both had a wee chat and agreed, no problem. Let's wait until he's fully recovered and then possibly he can do what we originally planned to do and he can be sitting here alongside me. So we just decided to postpone it for a wee while. I hope that's okay. While I mention that, what I want to do is just raise a wee glass in case Roddy's tuning in and just say, hey, get well soon, buddy. I hope you're on the mend already, and maybe we'll get something sorted out for the immediate weeks ahead. Get well soon, Roddy. Cheers. So it meant that I had to look at the kind of vaguely penciled in topics I had for the weeks ahead and work out what I could pull forward. And this one was sitting there. It meant I had to grab a couple of bottles for it, but that's okay. I was going to have to do that anyway to plug the final gaps of my original list. So I did that this week, and suddenly we've got an ignored vPub. This is episode 6, so it's taken me 6 vPubs to get through that original list. And if I'm honest with you, we have added a few more in that didn't appear on the original list. And since then, we've added even more to that. And it's not just because there are new distilleries coming along that we're maybe guilty of ignoring, but there are new official ranges that have come out, but they really haven't, for whatever reason, got the attention of the whiskey community. And why is that? Is that because of predetermined prejudices? Is that because some of us have tried it and decided it's not worth the rest of us seeking it any further? Is it because it's expensive? Is it because it's certain markets? Is it just poor? Often or misjudged, mispositioned. So that's what this series is all about, us kind of looking at these brands, these official releases, these distilleries that do have official bottlings, and asking why we're not interested in picking them up and trying them. Why they're not often talked about in this space, in the vPub, in this community, by me, of course, tends to be whiskies I ignore, that's the focus. But I do tend to find that there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of you out there in the community that potentially feel the same way I do. So let's, consider that there might be a wee bit of an echo chamber going on in there. If you're not talking about it, I'm not picking it up. If I'm not talking about it, you're not buying them. It could be something as simple as that. So that was the original idea behind this series, the Ignored series. And like I say, I'll share with you what the original list was in a wee minute, and I'll run through how we're going to complete that list tonight. I'll maybe even tell you in advance what we're going to go through tonight. But before I do that, of course, I'm going to jump in and should I speak about Limburg first? Maybe there's nothing to say about Limburg, right? It was not a great festival. We didn't have a great time. We didn't try wonderful, fabulous, life-affirming whiskies. We didn't enjoy wonderful food in wonderful restaurants in wonderful cities in Germany. We didn't laugh until our face hurt, and we didn't leave already considering how quickly we can book up next year. None of that happened. So the folks that weren't able to get to Frankfurt and Limburg in 2024 can worry not about any FOMO. It was fabulous. It was absolutely fabulous. I would like to thank everybody for the people who turned up, the people who came up and said hello, the people who hung out, the people who indulged me, the people who indulged me despite me kind of letting my hair down a little bit, as you want to do on these kind of weekends. It was fabulous. It was heartwarming. It was another fantastic example of everything I love about whiskey and the community. The fact that we have to travel over to Germany to experience whiskies like that these days is a wee bit of a shame, but it's also a huge, huge privilege and a lot of fun too. Thanks to everybody for making Limburg 2024 absolutely spectacular. Cheers. But of course, I need to jump in and welcome some of you beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies. Reb Mordecai has just joined, signed up to be an Aquavite barfly. Reb, thank you so much. I could have sworn you already were, but it's wonderful to have your support, my friend. I hope you're keeping well, Reb. Jimmy Legg has bought me a dram right at the get-go, saying, thanks so much for all your well wishes last week. It meant a lot to Angie and me. Of course, it was Jimmy Legg's anniversary last week, and we lit up the chat because he didn't join until a wee bit later. That's amazing. We're both so happy to read them all. Thank you, thank you. Wonderful stuff. We filled it with the wee hearts, the wee whiskey hearts, didn't we? Jimmy, I'm glad you had a fantastic time, and thank you very much for your dram, my friend, celebrating your anniversary. And my pal Highland Hamish, he's come in and celebrating being a member of the Barflies for 35 months, and he's saying greetings from the Highlands. Listen, there's a topic on the. I was considering pulling it forward to tonight, but I'm just not there yet, ready yet. And amongst other things, I was going to talk a lot about how the vPub is structured, what it all means. Certainly, I had a conversation with somebody in Limburg at the weekend, and they just come up and they were just grateful, and they loved being part of the community, and they apologised for not being a barfly. They wanted to be a barfly, but they weren't yet a barfly, and I think that there's a lot of confusion over what does it mean to be a barfly. What does it mean to join the barflies in YouTube and pay in order to get the emoji and the loyalty badges and things like that and keep the vPub ad free? What does that mean? What does Patreon mean? How am I actually funded? How am I able to do this thing when I don't take any whiskey or any payments or sponsorship or partnership or affiliate links or anything with industry or partners or whatever? How do I do it? So, that's maybe something that I have covered in the past. It doesn't warrant, of course, a whole vPub, but I think that there is some nice kind of independent project type thought that I could weave in to make a bit of a vPub out of it. There are so many questions and so many people wondering, and it's something that I'm quite passionate about, because not just for me, but for what I do, the model that I have here, but this is a model that's now available to everyone. And if everybody wants to be a master of their own ship, be completely free to say and do what they want, and they point that towards the community tends to value that and step up to support it and pay for it. Everybody pays a small amount, and the more people that pay a small amount, the more they strengthen the foundations of whatever the project may be, whether it's a YouTube channel, whether it's a blog site, whether it's a specific project, a business, or whatever it may be. This is the power of community, and it's also the power of independence and what that actually means. And once people work out what the value of that is to everyone. So listen, it's something that I'm thinking about, but it would probably be one of the last vPubs before we break up for summer, something like that. It might just be something that's postponed. But regardless, I want to thank you all. I want to thank everyone for their support, whether it's through super chats, whether it's through just shares and likes and subscriptions. They all mean so much. but some people step up to make a contribution to pay. And that's what keeps everything going, whether it's in YouTube through the Barfly subscription or the main revenue for me, Patreon. I'm very, very grateful to you all. And I should never let a vPub pass without me thanking you for that sustenance and support. Thank you all. Thank you, Hamish. Thank you, Reb, for supporting me through the Barflies. And thanks, Jimmy, for your dram. Right, into the lounge. See how you're all doing. Let's wind it back a wee bit. I'm looking for the orange, as I always do. So if you're trying to get my attention, just type Aquavite and I'll get that. A wee dram's come in from James DeGiulio right away, just with a wee thank you sticker, and a wee dram from North America. James, here's to you, my friend. Thanks for your support, James DeGiulio. Molasses Mike, good to see you, Mike. He said, you're not fooling anyone, Roy? I saw the photos. Yes, it was wonderful timing. There's lots of photo sharing and things going on Facebook. I just hope the more cringy stuff that we shared and are fun, you know, the people are, you know, they remember their decorum when they're sharing these social media posts, you know. But it was great, great fun. Falscraft is saying, so it's good I wasn't there. Thanks for making me feel better. Well, you know from previous trips, Falscraft, that you made the last two, you weren't there this year, but you know it's a bit of a dull affair. We don't really have a lot of fun, right? Jimmy Legacy, and I saw some pictures of you being you instead of being Aquavite, and it was great to see. You know a wee bit about that as well, Jimmy, don't you? Let's Talk Whisky is here, a barfly as well. Good to see you, Let's Talk Whisky. It might be the first time I've welcomed Jenny, saying Aquavite, it sounded like and looked like an amazing weekend. Hopefully catch up soon to hear all about it. Let's Talk Whisky. I know you then. Is that the new Kevin Grant thing? Let's Talk Whisky. Rob Smith is saying, hello, Barflies. Hope you're all doing well. Tonight, drinking some Speyburn 15 tonight. Good to have you in, Rob, and glad you're enjoying some Speyburn. It's one of the ones that we discovered on a previous Ignored episode. In fact, I go back to April 21 of episode 2. We discovered Speyburn 18 specifically back then. Reb Mordecai saying, I was a member, it disappeared and I rejoined. Thank you very much, Reb. Means a hell of a lot to me, buddy, and thank you for rejoining and supporting again. Alistair Gray has just gifted 5 Aquavite memberships to anybody that wants to get their hands on that little loyalty badge, the wee Barfly badge, just for a bit of fun, but you also get access to all of those colourful emojis, whiskey-themed and channel-themed emoji, but you keep things ad-free. Thank you, Alistair, you star. Thanks for your support. Danny Hebbington is here. Good to see you, Danny. Saying evening, Roy. Glad Limburg was a success. Just cracked that Loch Lomond Distillery Edition 5. Very nice indeed. I mean, we want more of this style of whiskey from Loch Lomond. Okay, the cast strength is nice, but it's not. It doesn't need to be. But that bright fizz, that integrity forward, you know, non-chill filtered, natural colour, that fizzy, beautifully fruity, yeasty style. I think Distillery Edition 5 is also from their straight neck pot stills. It's a proportion of Chardonnay yeast in there. You know, the style of the Aquavite release of 2 years ago. The style of the open release from 2020. Wonderful, wonderful whiskey. I suspect we're going to get a chance to get a wee bit more of that in the future. I certainly hope so. But I'm also working on a wee project that the patrons know about that's along a very, very similar theme. Codger is saying, evening, Roy, and all you barflies. Good to have you in, Codger. Good evening, straight back at you. And Gerbin is saying, evening, barflies and Aquavite, enjoying an Aaron and looking forward to expanding my knowledge again tonight. We'll do our very, very best, Gerbin. If you don't expand your knowledge, maybe you at least flesh out a few wee shady corners or something like that. But you're just as likely to get your knowledge from the folk in the lounge that you're chatting in right now as you are from me. That's why we gather here on a Thursday. And Clitz is saying, having some beautiful warm weather here. So I'm looking forward to a pair of ex-bourbon scotches I've pulled for tonight. A 12-year-old 2009 James E.D. Chinook and a 10-year-old 2008 Ardmore. 2 crackers. So you'll start with the Chinook, no doubt, probably unpeated, and then a wee bit of smoke from the 2008 Ardmore. Sounds fantastic, Clitston. It's nice to have you in. Ian Bruce is saying, did Wook make an appearance in Limburg? Wook remains a mystery. Whoever this character is, that over the last few weeks that's appeared on the channel, we are still no further forward into fathom them out who they may be. I kept my eye out for Wook in Limburg, but no appearance was. And if they did appear, they didn't announce themselves as such. Jimmy Like is saying maybe 2025 will be a trip to Germany instead of Scotland. That sounds crazy, but the pictures of Limburg sure were tempting. You're on your feet for a long time throughout the day, Jimmy. We do take wee rests, of course. We go and take a lunch break and get some fresh air and go and sit in the wee gallery for a while. But it is quite a busy weekend. Quite a busy weekend. You picked up on my Patreon post, Jimmy, right? And I shared some pictures and things like that and talked about recovery. But you're a canny soul. You know how to pace things the way that suits you. Reb is saying YouTube changed my channel user and the Barfly membership disappeared and I had to rejoin. I'm sorry. It sounds like it wasn't even your choice or fault. But it happens, Reb. Hey, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it at all. I'm just always grateful to have you here. And if you're supporting, even better. Dave Barnes is saying, celebrating my 32nd wedding anniversary tonight with a special dram of Springbank 30. Oh my goodness, Dave. And a vPub, what more can anybody want? Well, the Springbank 30. That is one way to celebrate a wedding anniversary, but it's appropriate. You're well into your 32nd year. Happy anniversary to you, Dave. That's terrific. And I'm a wee bit jealous of that Springbank. I hope it's delicious. Unicorn stuff. And Whisky Veritas, that's Oliver. Good to see you, St. Evening Roy. So glad to hear I didn't miss anything at Limburg. I was worried about that. Yes, you missed nothing, Oliver. Don't even consider it. Don't make any plans right now immediately for next year to make sure you don't miss it, okay? Just relax. Multi-Mission is saying, I'm not saying Wook is Mark Rainey, but they have never been seen in the same room. There are many people that we might consider could be Wook, but I doubt very much it's Mr. Rainey. Herman Lurework is saying, I know, especially Graham Fraser, what a human encyclopedia he is. He has had a wee handshake with Graham on Tuesday night at the Whisky Club. You know, if there were ways to kind of prise open that little brain and explode it all so that you could share it with, he does a very good job on the Barflies page on Facebook and things, but there's so much in that brain of his to share. We need to find a way of recording it and sharing it. Good. Welcome, everyone. It's fantastic to have you all here for a series that is honestly proved a wee bit popular. As vPubs go, we tend to kind of look for maybe 3,500 views over the weekend, if it's a popular topic or whatever. And then in the course of the first week or so, maybe 4,500, 5,000 views, something like that. But the Ignored series, for whatever reason, despite being a fairly nebulous title, let's say, it's not going to attract new people, and it seems to get a decent support. People like to kind of work out, you know, what are these whiskies? And it shouldn't be appealing when you think about it, because most of the community are pretty knowledgeable now. They know their way around the whiskey and the brands. And if they're ignoring it, they're doing it, and they're not doing it out of belligerence or ignorance. They're doing it out of confidence. They feel like there's nothing there. However, I'm always mining seams, right? I'm mining, you know, new seams and far horizon seams and old seams, antique seams and everything. And I think that one of the most obvious seams to mine is the stuff that's right in front of our face. And it might just be that, as I say, preconception or bad experiences in the past, or because our neighbours and peers and other whiskey botherers around us aren't raving about the stuff. So somebody has to step up and say, why is this? Share the opinions, share the reasons that maybe I personally haven't connected with it, that might connect with you, and then get some in the glass and talk about it a wee bit. Like I say, in the past, we've been able to uncover some good things. Let me share with you the original list going back to 2021. The first episode came out in January 2021, and the list went along the lines of Balmainach, Benrinnes, Bladnoch, Edredor, Glenfarclas, Glenglassaw, Glengrant, Glenrothes, Auchentoshan, Bowmore, Highland Park, Jura, Speyside, Tullabarden, Speyburn, Tormore, Ailsa Bay, Annandale, Glasgow, and Wolfburn. We added Fettercairn, Aberfeldy, Balblair, Altmore, Tormore, and Clydeside to that list. Throughout the previous 5 episodes, I've managed to get through all of these bar 2 or 3, and we'll cover the final of the missing ones tonight. So that list I've just read out to you will all have been covered after this vPub finishes tonight. We've done quite well. January 2021 was the first, as I say, and then throughout 2021 it was something I was going to cover in kind of a year, I never managed that, but we managed 3 episodes in the first year, and we'd uncovered Bladnoch, Glasgow, the peated style, the peated PX. It was pretty new back then in January 2021. Speyburn 18, Edredar 12 Caledonia, Fetter Cairns, specifically the new 16, the naturally presented 16, also a cracking Bamore in the Atlantic sea salt. Back in 2021, we discovered those whiskies. Some of these we still talk about today. Then 2022, I didn't touch it, but last year I brought episode 4 and episode 5, and we discovered Altmore just as it was discontinued, but it's still something I've got my eye on. It was an absolute gem to discover. I rinsed that bottle of Altmore so quickly. I'm going to keep my eye out and try and pick up another one. It was just the standard Altmore 12. It was lovely. And the Glengarry 12 as well was also discovered in episode 5. Fully natural 48% whiskey that's been loved by the community, but has never had a lot of airtime from me on the vPub. So there's another 5 to share with you tonight. And I'm kind of going to build up to it. I'm going to start off with something quite obvious. Then I'm going to do a wee bit of a comparison, move into something that I refuse to buy the official bottle for and give you a reason why. And also talk about the bottle that I've picked in place of that. And then finish off with, again, something that is quite obvious. Okay, so we'll start and we'll finish with 2 that was on the original list, and it's taken me this long to get around to it. We're going to start with Auchentoshan. We're going to move on to Balblair. We're going to compare Balblair with some Benrinnes. Then we're going to move on to Strathisla. And we're going to finish on Annandale. So if you're picking this up on the replay, you'll see that there are timestamps below. Hopefully I've had time to get my homework done and put those chapter markers in, so that if you're really excited on a specific one of those brands, one of those producers, you can skip ahead or do whatever. However, the people that do skip ahead miss a lot of the interaction in the chat. They miss a lot of the detail, the context, a lot of the nuance, a lot of little kind of transient nuggets, let's say. Those of you that are here live, you don't get that luxury. You're sitting here with me in real time, and it's wonderful to have you all. Cheers. Greg's Whiskey Guide is saying, did you see that insane live show a few days ago from Phil and Deepa? They did taste 5 old Craigellachie, including 3 times 23-year-olds and more. No, I haven't seen it because I was away, but I saw they did it on Sunday night, I think, and I got a notification coming through when I was in Limburg, and I was like, magic. Whiskey Mystery is back. Fantastic. So I'm looking forward to catching up with that, Greg. Hopefully, if I'm mindful while I do those chapter markers, I'll be able to link that underneath. If I don't, just put Whiskey Mystery in the YouTube search bar, and you'll find the fantastic folk that are Phil and Deepa. Tommy Elmer is saying, is that a Barfly bottle of absinthe on the shelf behind you? Where do we have? Here, over here. It's just lit up green because of the blue light behind it, Tom. This is actually an infinity bottle, but you can see the Barfly is actually etched into an Abisco decanter by Daniel Williams. Got to hang out with Daniel this weekend, and I'll show you this actually. There's a wee frozen cup here, my Yeti cup. This is something else Daniel Williams made. You can see, oops, I need to hold it the right way up. Here we go. This is the Limburg 2024 coaster, the Barfly coaster for Limburg 2024, made by Daniel Williams as well. And a few people got to take home these wee souvenirs. So this is sitting on my desk in front of me too. He's a wee bit of a creative, I think, is our Daniel. Danny Hebden is saying, for a minute, I thought my telly had a fault appear, but it's your mic. Oh, wow. Is the mic okay? Finally done is saying, have cracked a bottle of Macduff 2007 first fill Oloroso, but from Signatory, and we'll have a little water, and it is wonderful. Finally done. No, it's not the first time I've welcomed you. Could it be, possibly? You've cracked a bottle of the 2007 Macduff from Signatory. I wonder, Macduff, it's 2007. It's not one of the 100 proof. It's one of their unchill filtered, isn't it? I'm glad you're enjoying it, buddy. Danny, tell me if my audio is okay, please. Let's see. Mike Allgood here. Let's talk whiskey. Fantastic. Ian Bruce is saying, I really think Balblair had a bit of a fumble a few years ago, but one of the best distilleries to tour, and the whiskies that I've had from them were all ace. I'm going to have fun talking about that tonight, Ian. Gene Kelly saying, audio is fine. Audio all gravy here. Jeff Whiskey, good stuff. Gene Kelly, good to see you in. Jimmy Jazz is here too. Falscraft is saying, yes, a tiny shadow of your mic is visible. Not much. Oh. Better. I don't see it on the monitor here. It's fine. Mike is fine. Fantastic. Mike is okay now, says Petehead. Mike is fine. Sorry, I can't see it. I thought the screen had a fault. I can see it. Okay, Danny, no problem. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. And Whiskey Liberation Front. My goodness. Well, I know from the face that is actually Lee J, but Lee J is now Whiskey Liberation Front. And he's saying, cheers, Roy, and lovely barflies. Catch on the replay. Blooming early starts. Take care. I know what these early starts are like, buddy. Thank you very much for saying hello before you disappear. Don't work too hard and see you in the replay, buddy. Welcome, Lee J. I hope you've got your feet up with a nice dram. Major Nut is saying all good at my end. Superb. Good to see you, Major Nut. And P-Head, Mike is stubborn and in sight. Okay, no problem. Hopefully we've fixed it enough. I can put it right out of sight so it's not bothering anyone. I think maybe this wee monitor screen is cropped a bit. No problem. All right, let's get on with the topic for tonight. How are we doing? 26 minutes in. What's happening here? It's okay. We've talked about Limburg. We've talked about everything. But I want to launch straight into these ignored whiskies. I mentioned to you that I'm going to start with something tonight, and it's what's been in my glass as I welcomed everybody tonight. I've actually got a wee drop of Auchentoshan in my glass. Now, I went off looking for the American oak. I have constantly got, to the point it's a permashelf bottle, honestly, but it's a permashelf bottle because it tends to be gifted to me, purchased for me. People know and hear that you're into whiskey, so they want to buy you a bottle of whiskey. And they go out and see what they can find, and they say, oh, here's a Glasgow distillery or whatever, and they buy you a bottle of American oak. So it tends to be a bottle that's always on the shelf, but I'm quite surprised to see that there is none there. Maybe I've gifted it back, or maybe I've been able to get through it. But honestly speaking, in recent years, American oak, 40% ABV, super sweet, super, honestly can be, it's okay. It's okay. There's nothing bad in terms of quality about it. But it's a wee bit flat, it's a wee bit sickly, it's a wee bit cloying, there's a wee bit of a kind of saccharine finish on the end. And it's kind of one of those malt whiskies that does what it needs to do for its price point. It's often £25 or less in the UK. Very inexpensive stuff, but not ever going to impress anyone. And I think that's a wee bit of a shame, because I love that little distillery that's out there. I say little, it's not little, but it's not huge either. It's about 2 million litres out there in Clydebank. And when you consider how unique it is, the fact that it's one of the Glasgow distilleries, okay, a bit west of Glasgow, but it's also triple distilled. Not a lot of triple distillation happening in Scotland these days. The history behind it, just a fantastic opportunity that often goes missing. And the reason it's gone missing is because I'm coming at it from an enthusiast's perspective. When I talk about Auchentoshan, there is nothing in the range that I can find over the years that really grabs me. Back in the 10 years ago, a 21-year-old, I really loved a bottle of 21-year-old. I suspect that there was quite a lot of more aged liquid in that bottle though, but it was still stripped to a very low ABV. The 18-year-old is the same, 43% typically. The 3-wood, 43%. They do occasionally, they flirt with kind of mixology and bartenders and things like that. They did a bartender's malt. Interestingly, that bartender's malt was higher ABV. Ironically, ended up being one of the nicest sippers in the range. The ABV brought a lot to it. Quite enjoyed the bartender's malt. But often Auchentoshan leaves me with not much to chase. I'm going to share 2 bottles with you tonight that I have been drinking in the background for a long time, that are open, a long time open, that I feel quite comfortable. I know the whiskies, but I'll sip them fresh in front of you tonight. And then the rest of the 3 bottles I'll share with you will be uncorking. If we go out looking for Auchentoshan, I know what you're going to say as a community. And it's come up right throughout all of this Ignored series, and we'll mention it again tonight. Better off with the indies. Why is that? How can independent bottlers with very little stock often do better than the official releases with endless stock? Let's say, not say endless, but the most amount of stock available to anyone, right? How can official releases do so little with so much when indies do so much with so little? It's a theme with this Ignored series, and it's a theme in our community generally. But the truth is there. And I believe it's because whatever stock they have, they wait till it's ready, they wait till it's close to optimal, and they release it naturally. They also tend to release it ungilded, not too fussy, straightforward bottlings and fair drinking prices. It's a magic formula and it's not difficult. I'm not asking any producer to completely change all their global perspective and rate, but something in their range should be something that represents the liquid from Auchentoshan at its best for drinkers, for enthusiasts, for people who love whiskey. It can't be that difficult to do, but yet so many producers fail to do so. And unfortunately, Auchentoshan are one of those. A couple of wee drams come in. Brian Caballes is celebrating being a barfly for 4 months and saying, "Good day, folks. I'll catch the replay tonight again, of course, because he's in the upside down, Brian. He's on the other side of the planet. It's amazing that he can even drop in what's probably the very early morning for him. Nice to see you, Brian, and thank you for your support. David Hong has bought me a dram as well. I'll just put a wee like on that one, David. There's no message or anything there, but thank you for the dram. Daniel Williams has also bought me a dram. Remember to give Roy a little like and subscribe. Thank you, Daniel. It was good to hang out with you again at the weekend. I hope you caught me talking about your wee Abisco decanter engraved here and holding up that wee coaster that you made for us as well. Wonderful to have you. And Neil Almond, that looks like a new name, Neil, so I'll give that a wee like and welcome you in and thank you for your dram. David Hong, Daniel Williams, and Neil Almond. Cheers to you all. Thank you for your drams. So I went looking and I went looking. This was a limited release originally. I think it's quite old now. I think I remember this appearing maybe right at the start of COVID, somewhere around that order. Eventually, it became an Amazon exclusive in the UK for a while, and then it was available everywhere. But the prices were crazy. They wanted £70 for this stuff. And I'll hold it up and I'll show you what it is. It is an Auchentoshan official release. Interesting though, look at the ABV there. Look at the ABV based on my comments there, 47% ABV. This is their, just my camera needs to wake up. I think it sees my face. It's a Sauvignon Blanc finish. So it's quite interesting, I think, as well. It's obviously going to be ex-American oak, ex-bourbon, ex-refill, and then they've given it an undisclosed finishing time in Sauvignon Blanc wine casks. Nothing more than that on the bottle. I'll read what's on the back. You're holding one of the only triple distilled single malt Scotch whiskies. That's wonderful. We've been crafting Auchentoshan in the city since 1823. Tells you how to pronounce it, Auchentoshan, roll off your tongue. The reason I bought this bottle was nothing to do with the wine cask finish. It was nothing to do with anything, but I found an Auchentoshan at 47% ABV, and I wanted to give it a wee go. Came in a box. The box has long been disposed of. But I've been sipping this as a setup tonight. I've been sipping it as a welcome you in. And it's decent, it's interesting, but it's weird. It's weird. It arrives quite sweet, but delicately sweet. A nice sweetness, not cloying, not like the American oak. And then it immediately switches. It's always like a stepped expression. It arrives and then bang, you get this very, very acidic, bitter, slightly grapefruity, slightly lemony, slightly weird finish. It goes a little bit sharp. It's reminiscent of some stout casks, the way that some stout casks can affect a whiskey with that bitterness. And in fact, As I sip this now, as I've got this on the palate, there's a hint of hops, so that bitterness does persist. That doesn't make it in itself a bad whiskey or a bad experience or a bad malt whiskey. It just makes it a wee bit odd and a wee bit interesting. But the super interesting thing about this whiskey is how it's advertised. In Auchentoshan, if you ever take a tour at Auchentoshan, I recommend it. It's a fantastic distillery and a unique distillery to go and see. There's a really nice view that you get of the 3 stills there. They'll often let you try a wee bit of the 81% ABV new make, being triple distilled. It's into the 80s. So it's a great tour. But what you start to pick up is that there's a lot of advertising and a lot of messaging directed towards the on-trade, bars, cocktails, that kind of thing. That makes sense. That can be very lucrative in big business. But you can't face all your range to that market. There has to be a way to mix things up. So by all means, make a product that's good for the bar trade, for cocktails, for these kind of things. Make something that's inexpensive and good for multiples in supermarkets and that kind of thing. And then make something that's a wee bit more premium. But also how difficult it is to bring something along that's natural, fully natural. 47, 48, 46% ABV, maybe a wee bit higher, 50% ABV. Charge us accordingly, but don't chill filter it and don't add any colour. And try and make it an expression that really embodies the essence of what Auchentoshan is, because right now we're going to Indies to get that. The best Auchentoshans I've ever had, one was one that Roddy brought one night, are from independent bottlers. Why does it always have to be like this? Access to Scottish is saying, have to catch the rest of the vPub on replay. Got an early morning. Sorry, Slantia. Bank holiday weekend's coming up. So if you have to get up early, buddy, you've got a long rest, hopefully, at the weekend. And Jimmy Legg is saying, we drove by Auchentoshan on our bus trip to Campbelltown, not tempted to stop the bus. I know. So I'm correct in saying that it's not just me that's potentially ignoring Auchentoshan. It's because we just don't feel that there's an invitation for us as enthusiasts. We don't feel that there's anything to do in order to shout and scream about and celebrate and share. Mixing things up is pretty much what they are about. Aquaviti says multi-mission. And Sandra Fatzolari is saying, what did that bottling cost? Well, I'll tell you, I got it on offer at £57, Sandro. But if you were to pick this up today, you can pick it up on the big Bezos box of blue for about £40 in the UK. It's regularly discounted heavily, and regularly you can pick it up at discount price. When I went out to buy this originally, back at the time I was first interested in it, it was about £70. It was pricey. And then I found it came on offer at 57. I eventually bought it at 57, going from memory. But now it's dropped right down to 40. You can pick it up really cheaply. Hellswood is in. So good to see you, Helen. Who else is looking forward to the Ardnahoe initial release next week? I think quite a few people are. 5 years old, 2018 now. They've decided to release it 5 years old. I just hope it's as good as the stuff I tasted at the distillery. That would be amazing. We wait and see. We wait and see. But there's a lot of new whiskey fatigue right now. But I think the distilleries that have waited a wee bit longer, they do build up a wee bit of an anticipation. Tommy Elmer is saying, I see Auchentoshan often on the shelves, but I always seem to get something else. This one, the advertising is quite crazy because they advertise this for you to chill, for you to freeze, for you to throw over ice, for you to make it as cold as possible. Now, we know as enthusiasts that this doesn't have the most expressive nose anyway, but at least there's things in here that you can get. It's like it's easy to think about white grapes and that type of fruit style because you know the finishing cask. But it's not far away. There's a wee bit of yellow melon and things in there too. And it is a wee bit floral, a wee bit of very sweet vanilla and white sugar. I'm thinking about sugar mice. There's things there to notice. When you sip it, yes, it's not heavy, it's not oily, it's not full-bodied or anything. It's very light whiskey, but it's designed to be chilled, heavily chilled. So I've been sipping this, and it's fine. I think it's an interesting whiskey. I think if you're going to pick up an Auchentoshan and you're picking it up for £40, if you're getting it at a reasonable price, I think it's quite interesting. And if you're going to be a completist and want an Auchentoshan on your shelf, I would suggest that maybe it is the one to go for, unless you're a big sherry head or something like that. But in this little freezer mug I've got, this has been in the freezer right up until I went live tonight. So what I've got in here is an ice cube in this Yeti mug. I did not bring this out the freezer, and because it's a metal handle and have my finger stick to it. No, that didn't happen. If you're putting metal in the freezer, be very careful. Well, I'm going to pour it through the lid actually, so the ice doesn't. So this is freezing cold Auchentoshan. And actually, you can see that there are shards of ice floating around in quite a cloudy drink. This is shattered. That's spikes of ice in that. I hope you can see that on the camera. Focus and see the shards in the glass. So it is very well frozen, and you can see that it has gone a bit cloudy, quite considerably cloudy. So maybe they've used some light chill filtration with this, who knows? I'm going to dunk the ice in here. I think what's probably happening is it's the ice itself that's dissolving in the liquid. So I've got my ice cube here as well. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to have us considering having a little bit of fun with their whiskey and trying whiskey as a cold drink. I have to tell you that I have already done this. I have tried this. I've sipped this whiskey like this. I've sipped many whiskies like this. I'm not going to pour precious whiskies over ice. I'm not going to chill expensive whiskies or unique whiskies or interesting whiskies necessarily. But inexpensive whiskies, when you're just in the mood for something cool and refreshing and restorative, you're not going to sit down and analyze, because I'm telling you, I'm very unlikely to get. There is a vague note. Yeah, there is a vague kind of cool white sugar vanilla note, but nothing more. The liquid is just so cold now that everything is locked down. But what it loses in aroma and flavour, it gives you back an ease of sipping and refreshment. It is a nice thing to do. That said, £40, it's on sale, okay. Still not the cheapest whiskey in the planet. There are cheaper whiskies at that ABV and higher if you're going to sit and throw your liquid over ice. It seems strange. If you're going to drink it like this, I think there are a ton of whiskies that can do the very same thing. The flavours do work. The acidity and the bitterness work quite well. Certainly makes it moreish, certainly makes it danger whiskey. Be very easy to sip this. It would be very easy to tear through a huge 3-ounce pour, 4-ounce pour, however big this is. I would say, I don't know, this is certainly more than a double. This is like maybe a 60 ml pour or something that I put in the freezer earlier. Very, very quickly. I'm not going to do that tonight because I've got you guys tuning in. There are other whiskies to do this with. If you're going to do that to Auchentoshan, just buy the American Oak at 20, 25, 30 quid. This stuff, it's an interesting take on Auchentoshan and on whiskey. Might be one of the better Auchentoshans that's out there, but honestly, because of their market, because of the way that they're putting stuff out there right now, it's not representing the whiskey that they actually make, and it is not in any way pointed at us. I appeal to anybody out there at Beam Suntory, please consider putting a couple of bottles out there, maybe just an annual batch release or something that the enthusiasts can rave about that wee distillery to the west of Glasgow. Just a couple of special releases a year. One will do. Cheers. Danny Hebbington is saying, would you buy it over McLean's Nose or Campbellton Loch? No, both McLean's Nose and Campbellton Loch have much more body, much more depth of flavour, much more complexity. This is simple by comparison. Honestly speaking, Danny. Ian Bruce is saying it would be great in a hot coffee. If you're just looking for a whiskey flavour, it's going to give you that. But why would you pay the extra money to get that? Maybe an enthusiast would pay the extra money in order to get that kind of Sauvignon Blanc take on triple distilled spirit and things. There is a curiosity there, but it's difficult to recommend. Falscraft is saying Aquavite. For such reasons, I tend to ignore Glenmurray. Just recently, I heard that it might be an idea to reconsider. Yeah, and this is the point of the Ignored series. I don't think we touched Glenmurray as part of the Ignored. Maybe there's an argument that I should add Glenmurray because I do feel that for a few years, at least on the vPub, it has been ignored. So maybe if there is an episode 7 of this series, we can kind of pick up the stragglers that were somehow missed. It's wonderful to have your input on that as well. Thank you, Klaus. But we've got Glenmurray there, the Elgin Classics, the entry-level stuff that gets sold through supermarkets and things at 40% ABV. They're probably a bit dull for most of us. But they're not bad wee whiskies given how cheap and inexpensive that they are. But if you go further up and you start to get into the Heritage series and some interesting special projects from Glenmurray, you start to get much more naturally presented product. You get 46% ABV, you get unchill filter products, and you get sometimes higher ABV as well. Don't discount the entire brand just because of your experience with the low entry-level price point stuff. If that was true, we would maybe we would never pick up a Loch Lomond or a Tomatin or whatever it may be, the stuff that they've got, the 43% entry-level stuff out there, but lots of wonderful stuff behind it. James DeGilio saying, when I get to Ard in the alphabet, I go straight to Och. I do not go straight to Och. Okay, so you stop at Ard. That makes sense, James. It does, for most of the enthusiasts, to be honest. Daniel Williams is saying, love an independent bottle at Auchentoshan. Huge fan. As I said earlier, that very statement, Daniel, is a theme with this whole entire Ignored series. We go to the official bottlings, and a lot of the times the summary can be, let's stick with the Indies. And that's going to happen again tonight. I'm going to put that out of reach because while it's not the best whiskey to analyse, as I'm sitting here in front of you and being distracted by you and what I'm saying and everything, it's easy just to kind of have a muscle memory thing going on and tear through a big fat pour of nice chilled summery whiskey. It's been beautiful weather here in Glasgow as well. It's very fitting. All right, so we've covered Auchentoshan. I don't think there's a lot that I've shared with you there that's going to be a surprise, other than the fact that maybe it's brought another wee whiskey onto your radar that's affordable right now if you're in the UK, and probably wherever you are, you're going to be able to find this at duty-free at a cheap price. You're going to be able to find this in your local markets, hopefully on offer. Don't pay the high prices. It continually is put on offer. It's not worth the high prices, but it is worth the sale prices. But if you're curious and you're a completist and you want an Auchentoshan on the shelf, David Owen is saying the Glenmurray here in Germany is €80. So the Elgin Classics are €80? Can't be. Maybe Glenmurray 12? Maybe a higher 15 or an 18 Glenmurray at €80, David. It's nice to see you in. It's nice to catch you live, David. That's too expensive for a lot of Glenmurrays, so I'm not very sure. And Mike Molasses, Rob Smith is telling Mike that Ralphie just reviewed the Glenmurray 18. Good stuff, Rob. Thanks for sharing. So let's quickly move on to a distillery I already mentioned. And this is a wee bit different. This is a distillery that was already close to our hearts. This was a distillery that had fantastic value, fantastic flavour, fantastic diversity and variety in the range, and just this kind of really solid pay and play type vibe about them. Ex-bourbon, ex-sherry, this batch release, everything was batch release, and everything was inexpensive, and everything was worth trying. And I'm talking, of course, about Balblair. Back in the day, I should have grabbed one of my older Balblair bottles to show you, but you know, the old Balblair decanter style. And they were a wee bit different. They were a bit similar to Glenrothes back in the day. They went out there with vintages. And there's maybe an argument that that's why they were a bit more inexpensive and affordable, because if you picked up a Balblair 89, for example, I know that sounds very, very old now, very expensive now as well, but it's very, very vivid in my memory where you could pick up a Balblair 89 for, I don't know, 70 quid, something, maybe not even that. But everything in that vatting was from 1989. So there was no overaging, there was no kind of precious or older stocks going into that. It was a vintage, so everything was from 1989. You maybe picked up a 99 or a 2000, or you picked up an 05, or some of the more, I think the last ones that you would have seen would have been 07s, I'm not sure. Before eventually Balblair decided not to do vintages anymore, and I think it was somewhere in the area of 2018, I should have checked before we went live, somewhere around 2017, 2018, that order where Balblair ditched that range. They didn't do vintages anymore. Perhaps they considered it a concept that was difficult for most people to understand when the rest of the Scotch whisky landscape is sold either through non-age statement or through age-stated whiskies. It's not difficult to teach people. And it was, I feel like if they just hung on 1 or 2 more years, that whole vintage thing, it would have just exploded. They probably changed and rebranded at the worst possible time. Look what happened to whiskey over the 2020, 2021, 2022, the COVID years, right? Would have been amazing. Anyway, Balblair rebranded. That isn't in itself a problem. The rebranding was like, it's always going to be an emotive thing. Some people are going to embrace it. Most will reject it because it's a change and people don't like change. But the big step change was switching from vintage to age statement and then charging a ridiculous amount over all their peers. The prices just jumped way, way, way up. And we couldn't understand it, how this good value, lovely, enthusiast, excitable whiskey suddenly switched. Now, the powers that be tell me that switching to an age statement has been fantastic success for Balblair, and they've done very, very well out of it. I really don't believe that at all. I don't see anyone talking about Balblair. I don't see it lighting up the heather anywhere. I see it just being the same as it always was. A steady, rock-solid background player from one of the most fantastic distilleries in Scotland that you could ever visit. Really a wonderful place to go and see. And the whiskey that they're making is fantastic. But they've never managed to really get everyone engaged through their official releases for whatever reason. Doesn't stop the distillery and the liquid being very endearing. It really, really is. I've got a bottle up here I'm saving for a special occasion, and it is an 89 vintage ex-bourbon, refill bourbon. I can't wait to try it. But this is the only other open bottle that I'm going to share with you tonight, because I've been nursing this in the background, coming back and revisiting it time and time and time again, because it's interesting what's happened since the rebranding back in the day. This is the rebranding here. It's been going for about maybe 4 or 5 years now, maybe 6 years, I'm not sure, should have checked. And it is fully natural. We have to take doffer caps, let's say, to Inverhouse. We've got natural colour, non-chill filtered written on the label, big 15-year age statement, 46% ABV. When they relaunched, as I say, it was just a bit too expensive. But at £70 to £85 for 15-year-old fully natural whiskey, I think it's a vatting of sherry and bourbon, this one. Kind of leans to more the sherry side. Matured initially in American oak, ex-bourbon casks, followed the rich influence of first fill Spanish oak butts. Okay, so we've got a Spanish oak. It's interesting because Spanish oak, they're specifying that it's European oak for the finish as well. So it goes off for a wee finish. So now what's happened is all the competitors and peers around Balblair for 15-year-old product has caught up. Now when you're shopping for a 15-year-old whiskey and you want a wee bit of a sherry tang on the palate, you want something with a whiff of decadence about it and a slightly higher age statement than the entry level, but 10 to 12-year-old, let's say, product, you know, where you're in that kind of £70 plus price bracket today. That's where we're playing. Everything else seems to have caught up. Let's have a wee go. I missed quite a few comments. There's a lot of orange there for a second. Oh, wow. Greg's Whiskey Guide is saying it's 112 to 120 euro here in France. Oh, my goodness. He's declaring it a scandal. It's too expensive for this. It's too expensive. Far too expensive. Even the old NAS Elements Balblair, Greg said, I opened it last year, is wonderful. The evidence for me is that 5-year-old can be fantastic at 40%, but sure, their 1991 is something else. Some of the vintages, Greg, some of the batches were just resplendent. Roman Skovranek is here. I managed to hook up with you in Limburg at the weekend. We had a wee handshake and it was nice to meet you, buddy. I think it's very likely with all the other handshakes and hugs and raised clinked glasses and things, you might have to reintroduce yourself next year. But I specifically remember meeting you, my friend, and it was a pleasure. He said, I'll have to watch the rest of the Ignored on replay. Good night, everyone. You're maybe still recovering from your Limburg weekend. I wouldn't blame you at all, Roman. It's nice to have you up. Welcome, Jen, again tonight. Jimmy Legg is saying, Balblair or Knockdhu? If you had to pick Knockdhu, there you go. If I had to visit, Balblair. If I could go back to the vintages, Balblair. What's available today in 2024? And I have a couple of epiphany moments with Knockdhu whiskies. Really, it's close to my heart. So if you twist my arm right up my back, I'm going to go Knockdhu. If you're going to take me on a tour, I'm going to go Balblair. But that's because I've not visited Knockdhu yet. Tommy Elmer is saying, I think they should have stayed with the grenade bottles. Well, they haven't departed very far from it, honestly. The shape, especially when you hold the two of them side by side, this is a new bottle, but it isn't a big change. I'm the same as you, Tom. I loved that bulb. They had those weird kind of boxes that you opened from an angle as well. They opened like doors, like barn doors. And they had the bottle kind of sat in a little nest in the middle. I'm not one for packaging, but because of the liquid and the quality of the experience from that liquid, from that box and packaging, it endeared the whole experience to me. Great stuff. Gene Kelly saying, what are your thoughts about Balblair's peated sibling, Balachin? Balachin is Edradour, Gene. Edradour. And here we have the difficult, awkward reaction from me now that Wook is probably enjoying. Tonight is the first night I'm not going to genderize Wook. I'm just going to go with they or them. But they've appeared. There's a lot of likes coming in already. People are enjoying the fact that there's this kind of mystery happening on the channel. It's kind of strange to work out. I don't know how to react to it, honestly. All I can do is raise a glass to Wook every time and hope that they can easily and comfortably afford this what they do when they join the vPub and make these very, very generous donations to me and the community in general with buying all the Aquavitae memberships too, is that it's well within their means. I have no doubt that is the case. It's not a kind of flash in the pan thing. This has been going on for quite a few weeks now. Wook, you are here, my friend, whoever you may be, wherever you may be. And you've purchased another very, very generous dram with no comment, no words, nothing, and gifted 50 Aquavitae memberships. We need a Wook Fest, I think, September this year. We'll have a Wook Fest and see if Wook will appear. That's a great idea. Terrific, Danny. Wook, thank you for your generosity, always. Quite amazing. They just stepped on the grenade in a few ways, Aquavite, says Jimmy Leggy's talking about Balblair. And Reb is saying, I'll be in Knockdown in 2 weeks. Please, God, looking forward to it. Listen, Reb, it's one of those distilleries that I think if I'm going to go up that neighbourhood, that area, I really need to see. But I want to shake the hand of the manager. That would be nice. Ian Bullock is saying Wooktober. Ian, Billook. Ian, I think that's the first time I've mentioned your name. It looks like you've been around for a wee while by that silver barfly. Perhaps it's not. It feels like it is, though. But my memory's getting a bit fuzzy these days. But yeah, Wooktober is a great idea, Ian. Terrific stuff. I've just had a wee sip of that. I didn't give you much in the way of nosing notes or anything, but the finish, what's on the palate just now, the lingering finish, fits with European sherry style. There's a kind of nice tart tannic dryness. It's a wee bit like a black tea finish on the palate, but let's go from the start. Coffee grinds. Cold coffee. A wee bit of milk chocolate. A wee bit of coconut and mint. And a wee bit of furniture polish. There's a lot here. There's a lot here. It's almost like I know I'm getting pretty niche here, but Fry's peppermint cream or something. Never picked up a mint note in this ever, but there's a wee bit minty tonight. Something sharp. It's very soft. It's very easy. Despite 46% ABV, you could give this to a guest, to anybody that comes into your house looking for a smooth whiskey. This is going to do that. But that's not to suggest that it's in any way flat or easy or whatever. There's a good body to it. There's nice weight to it. It's just very... And it's also able to switch up a wee bit and give somebody who's a wee bit of a geek and wanting to nose and play and lick and taste and stuff. There's enough in it to do that. The problem with Balblair 15 is probably its neighbour, Speyburn 18. And I'm reluctant to say that because I think what happens is that rather than Balblair, there is an 18-year-old Balblair. There's a 17-year-old Balblair as well. I think it's travel retail. Rather than Speyburn 18, rather than Balblair coming down in price, what happens is that Speyburn 18 tends to be pushed up in price, and I'm a wee bit nervous about it. So I want to be careful about saying these things. But honestly, sipping this, objectively, this is not an easy to criticize whiskey. It's just good whiskey. It's just good, solid whiskey. The youngest component in here is going to be 15 years old. They're finishing it in European oak casks. I need a new light. How far are we in? 1 hour in, and this has failed tonight. Actually, what I need to do is buy a mains powered light. That's what I should just do. It doesn't matter. I think that I've completely lost my train of thought, but that's okay. If you were after, I don't know, the European oak is perceptible. If you were after a sherry flavoured 15-year-old kind of medium premium experience, it would fit the bill. But I suspect there are things that are able to do it for a lot cheaper. And this is going to go against all my mantras and everything I say in the vPub. But I'm going to go with this. I'm going to do an uncorking now, and I'm going to put one against the other and see what happens. Danny Keenan is celebrating being a member for 15 months. And he's saying 15 months of whiskey wisdom. However, Danny, I feel like you've been around a wee bit longer than that. It was nice for us to be able to hang out in Glasgow earlier this year too. Kyle Taylor is saying, Akuviti, how to build a light bar video would be super cool. How about how to build a light bar that actually works? Jimmy Leg is saying, we're not here for your deep thoughts. What are you here for? My shallow thoughts, Jimmy. Okay. Here we go with another distillery. Now, remember, we're focusing on official releases that we somehow ignore or walk by and we don't engage with. Yes, there are plenty independents out there. There's independent Balblair out there occasionally, but not much of it. But the next bottle I'm going to hold up, well, you can tell what it is because I've put the wee banner up already. You know immediately you're only going to buy from an independent. You're only going to buy this from an independent. And for the people out there that don't manage to get their hands on an independent, the news isn't much better because the official bottling I'm going to hold up has only the reach of independents. It's just the potential that's in this range of whiskies. It's like this locked thing just waiting to burst open. And all it needs is somebody just to see the potential, and it can just be fantastic. And it could solve so many things. It could bridge so many gaps. It could literally be the olive branch of whiskey, and yet it is just continually ignored. And we're scared to shout too loudly at it in case it's taken away with us, from us completely. It's Flora and Fauna, and I'm going to hold up the only official release from Benrinnes, the 15-year-old Flora and Fauna. As you can see here under my finger, 43% ABV. So we know, it's from Diageo too, that it's going to be chill filtered. We suspect that there is a chance that it's coloured. We don't know for sure. There is every chance that despite this being a really quite rich colour, that it's natural. But because they don't tell us, and we know that the dosing of colour in the whiskey industry generally, but even in malt whiskey, is so prevalent that we just, unless it tells us it's natural colour on the label, we just don't believe it. We assume that it's coloured. That's a major flaw. A major flaw. Anyway, we have Benrinnes here. Benrinnes is, I would struggle to put together a top 10 favourite personal list of Scotch malt distilleries and not include Benrinnes in the list. It seems to be wonderfully adaptable, let's say. It's great in a sherry cask and a bourbon cask and a whatever batshit crazy cask you want to put it in. It delivers. And it's so much to do with how robust the spirit is, the weight of the spirit, the body of the spirit, the flavour of the spirit, the complexity. Benrinnes is just brilliant. It is so brilliant that it is utterly, utterly valuable, I think, to the owners Diageo for their blends. However, we do get a generous amount of Benrinnes through indies. How often, though, do we drink from this, the official release from Diageo? I know that if you're in North America, you're going to struggle to get your hands on this. If you're in Europe, you've got a chance of getting it. And in the UK, it's widely available. The reason I'm pouring it alongside this Balblair is because of that 15-year-old age statement. They don't talk about the cask. There's Diageo. There's no real information on this whatsoever. All it is just one of the most attractive bottles of whiskey that exists. Honestly, everyone knows how much of a fanboy I am for Flora and Fauna. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It's a tall, round, bog standard bottle with something that is neither modern nor ancient nor faux retro. It's just classy. It's just very cool. It's just very cool. I love it. £57. We don't know anything about the cask. We don't know anything about the status of, is it natural colour? We don't know if it's chill filtered or not. It's not. It's absolutely chill filtered at 43%. but it's £57. I don't know how much it is where you are, but suddenly I'm looking at this fully naturally presented 15-year-old Balblair, and I'm going to go, okay, so you want 15 to 20, £25 more for natural presentation. Hopefully that's going to give me flavour. Not being entirely fair here, what we've got here is a double distillation from Balblair, potentially partial triple distillation from Benrinnes, because this is an old bottle, but if you bought one now, a contemporary one, would also be double distilled. I think it was 2007 they switched over. 43% ABV versus 46. Benrinnes uses worm tubs to condense. Balblair uses shell and tube condensers. Does make a difference. So the mint note I'm getting on this is nuts. I just don't know where that's come from. It's like a green leaf. A spearmint. No, peppermint. Wow, it's just nuts how I've never had it before. It's obviously just tonight, but nosing it against the Benrinnes has brought it out even more. So the Benrinnes is bringing me to a much more kind of aromatic, musky kind of tobacco box cedarwood vibe. Orange rind, orange cordial, orange syrup, orange rind, orange oils. And this is like nettles, and this is green tomato vine now, and wow. You need to do this. See when you sip what's on the label to 15-year-old kind of sherry, the suggestion of sherry style whiskies. When you sip them together, they just pop. You start to confuse your palate a little bit, confuse your nose, but it's fantastic. So when I was young, there used to be a plastic pouch of golden Virginia tobacco. And when I was young, everyone smoked. Everyone wanted to know how to smoke as cheaply as possible too. And there was a very distinctive smell of that pouch of tobacco. It was a smell I loved. I didn't so much like the lit tobacco, but the raw tobacco in the pouch. And that's similar to this. A lot of sweet citrus. Maybe the only thing that ties these two together would be a chocolatey note. Okay, let's have a wee sip. 43% worm tub against 46% shell and tube. £57 against 75, closer to £80. I don't want to say this. I don't want to admit it. Oh no. Wow. Look, anyone that knows me, anyone that hangs about the vPub, anyone that I drink whiskey with is Aquavita or is just Roy, they'll know I've got a fetish for flora and fauna. But specifically, if I was to pick one, and I could only have one of the flora and fauna that was available today, hopefully you know that it would be the Benrinnes. Some days you might get me talking about Dillion as well. This Benrinnes tonight is, this is an old bottle. I have to caveat this. I've had this on the shelf for 5 years. And the reason that I've kept this on the shelf is that there's a good chance with 15 years old, it has to be pre when they switched from partial triple distillation to double distillation. But arguably, double distillation should work better in terms of bringing more body and more weight and things, all other things being equal, and keeping that body and that weight and that oily spirit intact. It is intact here. So my idea was probably to just do a wee side-by-side Benrinnes comparison, a modern flora and fauna contemporary today versus one that I've been keeping on the shelf for a long time. I can still do that because you can pick this up, as I say, for £57 today. £57 is probably what I paid for this way back when I bought it in 2019 or whenever it was. This is punching above its weight like it always does. There are rumours out there that they don't chill filter the Flora and Fauna series. There are rumours out there that it's naturally coloured. But until they're telling us on the label, they remain rumours. I don't believe that it's true. I think they put it through the same equipment in the bottling plant as everything else that they're doing there, and the specs are adjusted to be the same too. They've got caramel colour on tap. It's going through the same kit. It's going through the same machinery. Blind, what would I pick? This is just this wee peppermint tea thing, and the jury's out. I think tonight I'd probably go with Benrinnes. Crazy, right? Neck pour. But it just reminds me why I enjoy this whiskey so much. I talked about being able to pour this for anyone. Easy to pour this for anyone. You pour this for someone that used to love Macallan 12, but they can't afford it anymore. Someone that's looking for that rich, kind of decadent sensation, that kind of almost velvety type texture. Pour that Benrinnes 15 for them. They would be purring like a whiskey-filled kitten. They would thank you and ask for another glass. This one the same. This one's a bit more, and I don't know why, I'm just getting it tonight. There's a minty, there's a green element to that. I'm loving it. I kind of almost like a wee bit of a peppermint tea there on my last sip. But at the price point, closer to 80 quid, it's hard. I think it's too expensive. I think this is why people are stepping away, while people are pausing, while people are just hitting the brakes a little bit on whiskey and whiskey purchases right now, is that all the prices have now caught up with that ridiculously catching your breath thing that happened in Balblair back in 2018. Everything's gone up to that price. And we're all just saying, no, we've had enough. I worry about talking positively about things like that Benrinnes 15 because we know that Diageo's playbook is just crank the prices up. In fact, Diageo don't even seem to have a strategy. I think they've got a dartboard with numbers on it, and from the other end of the room, they just throw darts at it, and wherever it lands, that's the price the whiskey is going to be. And there are no prices on that dartboard that are low or sensible. But we can't take it away from that bottle of Flora and Fauna that you just pour it for anyone and they say, that's a good, solid whiskey. Just a good, solid whiskey. Pedro from Brazil is here. Good to see you, buddy. Saying good evening, Barflies. Good evening, Akawaviti. So good to be live with you once again. I love the Ignored series. Aberfeldy is my Ignored for 2024. Well, you might remember I covered Aberfeldy in a previous Ignored. I think it was episode 3. But what I've done, no, 4. What I've done now, Pedro, is that there's a playlist on the channel. So if you go to the channel homepage and you scroll down, you'll find that the Ignored series is all listed there. You can kind of watch them back to back. I wouldn't recommend you do that because they tend to be vPub length, 3 hours long, but they all have chapter markers in them, I hope, and you're able to skip forward to the whiskies that you're interested in. And it's good to have you in, buddy. Welcome. Klitz is saying, give into your preferences for the Benrinnes. With each passing moment, you make yourself more my servant. Diageo CEO. You have a point, Klitz. You really genuinely do. Greg's Whiskey Guide is saying, Oh, not the Rosebank. Oh, Flora and Fauna Rosebank, you're probably talking about there. Yeah, I don't care what it is. If it's in a Flora and Fauna bottle, I'm probably drawn to it. It's my Achilles heel. Tiny Kai is here. Good to see you, Tiny Kai. That's a Dramface name. One of the Dramface writers and contributors. There was an interesting study done from a few years ago showing a connection between cask extract and mint notes. Terpenes and terpenoids from memory, tobacco, this is the way you write on Dramface too, Tiny. I can read these things, but I can't speak them. Megastigmatriones, matrinons. My goodness, I know what you're getting at. You're talking about that connection with the. You're talking about mint. You're talking about specifically tobacco. But isn't it amazing that you get it, and you get it consistently? You get it in a blue glass, a black glass. You get it in a blind tasting. You get it when you taste it. When you get it when a friend tastes it. It's clearly there, or whatever is there makes you think of those things. Makes you want to articulate those things. Chocolate, tobacco, orangey. Chocolate, wee bit of tobacco, minty. Flat Coca-Cola. No, it just smells like flat Coke. It's not a bad thing. It's just what I got. It's just amazing. Loving it. Jimmy Like is saying, is Kalila ignored by us a bit? Kalila, when I did a count, you might remember a couple of years ago for the vPub, the Confessions vPub, I think I did, when I shared with everyone how many bottles I had, and I told them what the most bottles I had on the shelf. The most I had was from Kalila. I suspect that would have changed by now, but Kalila is still very well represented in my shelf. However, Jimmy, based on the theme tonight, you're absolutely spot on. If we're talking about official releases from Kalila, whether we're talking the annual releases or the 12-year-old, we're talking the Kalila Moch, or we're talking the 18-year-old, they're all probably ignored. Certainly the 25 is ignored. Something that used to cost £100 just a couple of years ago is now £450. What? Greg's Whisky Guide, and he's saying Diageo-wise, they did announce that for the French market they'll withdraw now Lagavulin 16 and Talisker 10 to keep them for the retailers. So they're playing we don't understand. Maybe that everything is so wonderful for Diageo that they can do all of these things. Whatever happened to just fairness and honesty? Thorpass Whisky saying the Signatory 100 Imperial Proof Series is an incredible value. The Small Batch 48 series is also great value. Big variety out there. There absolutely is, and there's a couple I've had my eye on recently, specific from the Unchill Filtered series as well, Tim, that is just we know the 100 Proof series has been fantastic. Everybody loves it, but it's very samey to me. You know, at 57.1% ABV, all kind of big, dark, rich casks, sherry casks. I like the variety. I like to be able to switch things up a wee bit. I would love to see much more brighter, paler, fruitier liquids coming in that series, but it's maybe not what it's pointed at. So let's not forget all the other great Signatory things that are coming out there. Matt Horsham is saying, back in the saddle, it's been a busy few weeks. I'm running a couple of weeks behind, so watching live, but drinking Thompson Brothers as a treat. I would say Flora and Fauna styling is timeless. That's a good way to put it, Matt. And it's wonderful to have you in participating with us. And Danny is saying, is Lafroig ignored? I don't see it talked about that much. I have it on the shelf, but rarely reach for it. Recently, I've had the 10-year-old cast strength out and about. I've had the sherry oak on the channel. That you might be right, actually, Danny, that there might be an argument that the ignored series will end up being perpetual and it might not be a completist thing. There's an argument that the producers are bringing insipid ranges that make it easy for us to ignore. The cast strength from Lafroig is difficult to ignore because it's a cracking pour. With a 10-year-old age statement on it and that ABV, it just makes it compelling. The rest of the Laphroaig range is very hit and miss, and some of them are stinkers today, let's be honest. It's not what it used to be. It's like all other whiskies, it's not what it used to be. I think it's harder for them to maintain the quality and the depth of flavour and complexity and richness that Laphroaig was famous for. Some of it is a bit neutered, a bit thin. That's the easiest way to describe Laphroaig today, despite the fact that it's that potent Islay style, is that so many of them, the palate is just so thin. There's nothing to it. Ian is saying, does it sound like Diageo may be trying to pull bottles out of easy access to people to create a buzz, a bit like the Bairns going mad for hard to find prime bottles? There is contrived scarcity is a big thing that's at play. Absolutely. They are behaving like they are the only game in the playground. It's just nonsense. It's nonsense. What they are doing is they are flirting with trends and fashion rather than going with honesty and integrity. It's not difficult to be timeless. To preserve your reputation for the present, the medium term, the long term, and the future. Reb is saying, I'm a big fan of Kalila. The Kalila 12, 18 and 25 are already available here and a quarter of the price of the UK. No idea how. 18 is 130 and 25 is 213. Still not cheap, Reb, but it's good liquid. Kalila is absolutely good liquid, and I'll give you that. Okay, I'm going to put that Benrinnes glass next to the Benrinnes and the Balblair over here. I'm going to switch it up a wee bit, and I'm going to talk about a bottling that I don't think I recall anyone in the vPub ever raving about the official release from Strathisla. Whether you're talking about the lesser spotted 18, the even lesser spotted 15, I noticed that currently there is a Whisky Exchange 15-year-old exclusive right now, 60% ABV for Strathisla, official bottling, Whisky Exchange exclusive. You can even get an engraving done. Oh, super interested, £125, parachute immediately. Too expensive. 15-year-old Strathisla, okay, it's cask strength, but that's a bit pricey, £125. It's not like they've got a reputation that they've built up. And Strathisla it's one of the most magnificent. If you can get an old Strathisla way back from, an antique that it is today, it can be absolutely wonderful, like eye-wateringly good. Modern Strathisla, like every modern whiskey, it's not the same as it used to be. 12-year-old Strathisla we used to be able to buy in the supermarkets. These days, 12-year-old 40% ABV Strathisla is £60 to buy online. £60 for watered-down 12-year-old Strathisla. Sorry, I know this is the Ignored series. I know that I'm supposed to have the financial, hazard in order to bring these bottles to you and to talk about why we don't talk about them. I'm not doing it. I'm not paying £60 for 40% Strathisla that I know from experience wasn't worth the £35 I used to pay for it. Who's buying it? It's Pernod Ricard. Don't understand the strategy. However, I will do this. There is a project that is continuing for now. It won't be around forever, but it'll be around for a few years to go. And that is kind of what we've come to know from Gordon MacPhail is distillery labels, alongside Glentochers and Longmorn and various other distilleries out there, not just Pernod Ricard distilleries, I'll mention. We have Strathisla as being kind of almost like a handshake third-party bottling in place of an official bottling, and it's been there for years and years and years. That Strathisla font, that typeface that you see, you can pick up a product from the 40s and the 50s and the 60s with the same typeface in G&M bottlings as well. And I'm going to uncork this tonight. This has been on the shelf for a wee while, but not too long, maybe about a year, maybe 2 years at the most. This is from G&M's Distillery Labels series, which recently got a big bump up in specs. They moved it up to 40 ABV. Now, do we know that's because they were not chill filtering it? No, they don't tell us that on the bottle at all. The oldest Speyside malt distillery in Scotland, they say. Strathisla Glenlivet, matured and bottled by Gordon MacPhail, Elgin, Scotland. So this is obviously filled into G&M casks. That was a good solid pop. And matured in G&M warehouses. So it's filled new at Strathisla. Okay, I hoped with the shoulder would get a glug, but I'll pretend. So I did not buy the official bottle because I know what it tastes like and I know what I would be saying to you. 25, 30, 35 pounds, fine, 40% ABV. But if I'm going to sit and talk about one of the ignored distilleries, one of the ignored producers, and spend my money on it and talk to you meaningfully about a liquid, I want it to be something that has at least got the possibility of being better than that liquid in a very flat form that is the standard Strathisla 12 at 40% ABV. I've missed a couple of drams. Darth Kermit, okay, that's Robin. Good to see you in, buddy. Saying happy birthday on Sunday, Roy. Same day as me. Oh, no way. Another 5th of May birthday. That's incredible. I'll raise a glass to you and all the barflies. Thank you very much, Robin. Listen, that reminds me, to patrons, I teased either a week on Sunday or this Sunday it would be a lock-in. Obviously, it's my birthday on Sunday. It's not going to fly. It's not going to happen. So I'm going to postpone it until the week after, a week on Sunday. So apologies, patrons. I'll catch up with you there. I'll let everybody know what's happening. But I'd forgotten that. Yeah, that's not a clever thing to have to suggest to do. But thank you, Robin. I'll raise a wee glass and say many happy returns to you on Sunday, my friend. I'll think about you. We'll share a birthday together. And the Whisky Rev as well. Graham, if you ever tune in still, I'm sure you do occasionally. Happy birthday on Sunday, big guy. I'm missing you. Cheers. Greg Stafford as well, who's bought me a wee dram to... Sorry, a wee bit distracted. That's a good thing. Greg Stafford is saying, cheers to all. Finally able to watch a live vPub after weeks of replay. Learned this week that my wife and I are welcoming both a girl and a boy to the family. Cheers, barflies. Greg, we had twins 15 years ago, 16 years ago. My goodness, 16 years ago. Your world is about to change in very, very wonderful ways. Congratulations, Greg. Congratulations. Yeah, maybe we've got a chance to chat about that at some point. Thank you for your dram. Thank you very, very much. And just wonderful news, the best kind of news. Cheers. Mother's Day on the 12th here in the States. So weekend Sunday for Mother's Day in the US. Whisky with Molly saying no. Aquavita Y is saying no. Falsgraph is saying German web shop distillery labels €93, 26 year €300. Oh wow. A 1997 2003 vintage of €2,400. What? And then they show Chivas. Okay. So the prices, I think the prices are getting more and more out of whack as time goes on across borders. You would think there's no such thing as the internet. Quite amazing. So I'm trying to fathom what this distracting note was. So I knows this, and I didn't. I've splashed my specs. There we go. This is very tobacco-y forward, this one. But there's a lightness and a freshness to it. It's just chocolate. So it's like a greener, more herbaceous type thing. There's a mashed sense to a mulch sense to this. A field green type note thing. A ditch hedge, that. Wow. And there's a weirdness, there's an oddness to this. a bitterness, like a green tea or a, I don't know, green tea can be something that's positive and you're happy to experience, but actually this is quite negative. This is not great. This is weird. This is odd. It's Play-Doh, just like plasticine. Cellophane. I liked that. I liked the way it drew my attention. I liked the way it grabbed me, and it was something different in here. There was something I had to kind of try and tie down what it was, but sip by sip, it's a bit bizarre. Okay, it's a neck pour. Well, you know the caveat in the vPub. If I uncork something in front of you, the thing hasn't even had a chance to stretch or breathe or relax or anything. So if you're going to judge a whiskey based on the neck pour, remember that you're just as likely to end up with a red face, because in a couple of weeks' time, it might settle down and be really quite fantastic. But also, neck pours are often very, very good. And if you're in a bar or a tasting, if you go to a whiskey tasting, I guarantee you everyone in that room is tasting a neck pour most of the time. If you go to a festival or whatever, you're just as likely to get a neck pour as anything else. So don't consider that there is no validity in judging or assessing a neck pour. This whiskey is sold ready to drink, and everything is valid. The reason for recycled reviews, of course, is that neck pour, shoulder, waist, torso, feet, heels, all of it is taken into account, and it's the overall experience. But on the vPub, when I'm uncorking, we have to caveat the fact that I'm sipping a neck pour with you. Wee dram coming in, Seaweed World, that's Sherry in Canada. Happy early birthday, Roy. Dram on. Thank you very much. I'll give you a wee like there, Sherry. Thank you very, very much for your birthday wishes. It's a wee bit early. It's not till Thursday. I'm holding off. I want to be 53 a wee bit longer yet. Peter Lee is saying, happy birthday on Sunday. It was great to catch up with you over lunch with the young family. I hope you like your birthday bottle from the Lees. Well, what do you think, Peter? Because it's sitting right there. And here's what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to either open it on my birthday and share it with folk here, and if I don't do that, or if there's enough of it intact, I'll take it and I'll put it behind the bar at the Bonaccord, and it'll be the dram that I'm able to share with visiting barflies, especially the ones that don't get a chance to get down to Campbelltown. Peter, to you, my friend, and to that gorgeous partner that you have running shotgun with you, to Denise, thank you for your generosity and your kindness. Cheers, Peter. Danny Keenan's bought me a dram as well. Happy birthday on Sunday, Roy. Cheers. Well, the cat's out the bag now. Hey, Danny. Thank you very, very much. I'm not going to keep sipping because I'll be here all night. I need a wee bit of water. But this wee Strathisla is a bit... yeah. A wee bit odd. I'm surprised at that. Usually rock solid. So where do we go in 2024 if we want to connect with Strathisla? Unfortunately, it's like so many distilleries out there that are just kind of locked away from us because they are needed for blends, because they have some other priority other than bottling a single malt. And I suppose that we just have to accept that. But to me, Strathisla is one of those iconic brands, iconic distilleries that seem to be in 2024 forgotten about, until you realize that I think the reason it's iconic is because of that typeface. Anybody that's been around whiskey for long enough thinks about Strathisla and sees that more than they do the Strathisla branding, the Strathisla bottles. the modern white label ones, or if you go back to the early 2000s or the 90s, where it's the kind of tombstone green dark bottles, they're the original with the white kind of labeling. It's just, for me, the much more iconic, recognizable Strathisla is the Gordon and MacPhail distillery labels. And I think it's a shame that at some point in the very near future, that'll be lost. My pal from Hong Kong, Justin Wan, is saying happy early birthday, Roy. Many happy returns. I've got to head off to work because it's very early in the morning for you, buddy. He says, we'll watch the rest on replay. Love this Ignored series. Justin, thank you very, very much for your generosity and for always being here regardless of the ridiculous hour. Cheers to you, fella. All right. There's just... I need to work out what that is on that. It's odd. This is we need to look at this because obviously G&M are regularly releasing these. This is not easy to recommend on this bottle, this neck pour. This is a 2009 bottled 2022. So there's a chance I've had this 2 years. There's a weirdness to it. I hope it's the neck pour. I really do. It's odd. And it's not odd, where the Auchentoshan was odd in an interesting way. This is odd in a flawed way. No likey. Anyway, let's finish chatting about our Strathislas. If I'm going to talk about a distillery to close out that original list of ignored distilleries that I shared with you back in January of 2021. This is, when I mention this distillery, this will complete that list. It was on the original list, and we're just getting around to it now. It's quite incredible, but it's taken a long time, and it's the first official bottling I've purchased from this distillery, despite the fact that it's been available for 4.5 years, I think. 2019, I think they started to release whiskey. But they started to release it at full cask strength, single cask, £120 for every bottle. From the inaugural till now. Okay, there are some that are not bottled in such a way, but the majority are. Cask strength, single cask, £120. And it was first released, it was 3-year-old. Not touching it. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Lowland Distillery, one of the prettiest distilleries you can go and visit. An amazing restoration job that's been done down there. A beautiful place to go and visit. If you're coming from England to Scotland on the M74, make the detour and go to Annandale. Go and visit the distillery, and it's a phoenix from the flames. I mean, it was just 100 years ago, closed and lost, and suddenly it comes back to life. So much history, so much potential, so much clumsiness. It's the only way I can say it. They should have been able to find a way to make the best whiskey they could make, put it out there at a fair price, find something that would suit the tourists, find something that would suit the enthusiasts, get everybody talking about the distillery, and there's so many stories. It is like the ultimate treasure chest of wonderful stories to tell about a phoenix from the flames, about history, about Robert Burns, about Johnny Walker, about the Lowlands, about everything. And no one is talking about Annandale. Something has gone wrong. But when you put together a bottle and sell it single cask for £120, I just don't know anyone who's going to take that risk. Oh, we'll get a glug from it though. That might be one of the best ever glugs we've ever had into the vPub mic, right? It's a peach. So why am I doing it now? Well, for two reasons. The first is that it's the last bottle on the original Ignored series. I have to do it. And the second reason is the timing is pretty perfect as well, because I picked this up for £68. And if I'd picked a different cask, a different style, I could have picked it up even cheaper than that. You can now pick up cask strength Annandale for less than £60, depending on where you shop at what time. Bricks and mortar, local specialist, special offers, online retail, wherever you are, you're now able to pick this up much, much, much cheaper. I paid £68 for this. Why did I pick this? I have to say, I am completely enamored by the description on this label. I hope my camera focuses on this so that I can let you see. I love the way they've written this. Look at this. It says matured in several times used, and in brackets, refill ex-bourbon cask, 60.6%. So not only have I gone for the cask that is the most inert, I've also gone for their unpeated. This is the Mano Words. Mano Swords, which instead of a feather on the front, has got a big sword, is a man of sword. It's peated. So much like as you would expect from me, from Aquavitae, strip everything back and just try and connect with it as much as I can. It's still 60-point-something% ABV, 60.6, distilled in 2016, bottled 2022. So we're talking 5-year-old, maybe a 6-year-old. This is cask 96, and it's bottle 62. So they're numbering the bottles. So it comes with a tube. I had the tube around, and there is a story on the tube, you know, talking about stuff, but nothing that really means anything about the liquid. It's all about the story. It's all about this the thing. Oh my goodness, there's another. There's 2 drams come in. One from Whisky with Molly Ben, buying me a happy birthday for Sunday, and a wee clover as well. Thank you very much, Ben, my friend Ben. I hope you're doing well. And Wook has swung in. Wook, potentially, my friend, that is a birthday dram that you've purchased for me there. I'll give it a big, big fat like. I'll give it a love, in fact. And I'll raise this glass to you both. My pal Ben, thank you for your birthday wishes. And Wook, thank you for being Wookish. Cheers. Okay, I need to come back to this. Pedro is saying a wee birthday dram to you, Roy. Thank you very much, my friend. Superb in Brazilian currency as well. Extra cool too. It's the first time I've seen a pink super chat as well, Pedro. Thank you very much. All the best to you as well. Hope to raise a glass with you soon again, Pedro. Obrigado. Okay. This has got me interested. Okay, we're now at 60% ABV. So bear in mind, everything that we've had tonight is very, very low ABV. We've got the Auchentoshan at 47, Strathisla, Benrinnes at 43, Strathisla at 46, Balblair at 46. We're now in the realms of cask strength whiskey. So suddenly there's a big, big flavour impact. It's not all about the alcohol. It's not all about the extra strength of the booze. It's about the alcohol and being a flavour delivery mechanism. So I now feel like we've got lots of things to talk about. As I'm nosing it, it's punchy on the nose too. Nobody was connecting with Annandale because it was too expensive. It was too out there. It was too weird. It was bottled like a tourist bottle, but it was presented like a geek bottle. It was everything about it being a new distillery, being a Renaissance distillery, a Phoenix distillery, was shouting for attention from whiskey enthusiasts. People wanted to celebrate that it was brought back to life, but it was priced as a tourist bottle as well, £120. It was just, I feel like it was clumsy. I did like this kind of man of swords, man of words. I did like that twist on it. I was into it. It was easy, but I wanted it to be less fragmented, less granular. That single cask. What's the chance of two people in two different spots, in two different parts of the world, being able to sit down and drink the same whiskey? It's not an essential, but it's a nice thing to do. It's certainly nice to have choices and options. Maybe the infrastructure isn't in place at Annandale in order for them to do decent vattings. Maybe they don't have a blender or a blending team in order to do consistent vattings or to bring something that people can come to relate with. Regardless, it's been a few years now. They should have got the stuff together by now. What's happening now is we're seeing a price decrease in order for me to actually go out and buy a bottle. But this is actually pretty compelling. I don't think this is stunning or beautiful and remarkable, but I've regularly gone out and spent £60 to £70 on a cask strength independent bottling of something and had this experience and been like, okay, it's single cask. So the chances of I think you would probably have to have a few in order for you to build up some kind of profile of what Annandale actually is, in the absence of a core range, a core blended, vatted product. But this is quite heavy and oily and rich and thick, even gloopy. Okay, on the back of the drams I've had tonight. It's a wee bit wood polish. It's a wee bit perfumed. It's a wee bit okay. There's a I don't want to say waxy, and waxy is a very positive thing in whiskey. If I'm saying waxy tonight, it's in a wax wood polish type way. It's less positive. But on the positive side, there's a really nice kind of sharp citric fruit married to this quite thick, heavy spirit. Caveat again on the back of the whiskies I've had tonight. A dram come in from Gene Kelly. It's good as a bit of that's weird, a dry kind of white pepper, starchy kind of note. It's weird. It's neck pour, of course. I have to caveat the neck pour. Gene Kelly's bought me a dram saying, "Happy birthday, Roy. May your big day be memorable. You bring so much joy. You deserve a lot in return." Gene, thank you so much, my friend. That's very, very kind words. Thank you so much. I'll give that a wee like. I'm going to have to start clicking love on these drams it's purchased for me. Danny Hebbington, what are you doing? What are you doing, Danny? Do me a favour, Roy. Buy Wook a dram. I hate the thought of them drinking grouse. Happy birthday to my favourite Ouija. There'll be no tears shed tonight. Danny, thank you so much, buddy. Thank you. What are you doing with the generosity? If I ever meet Wook, I guarantee you they will be bought a very, very decent dram of whiskey. That is super, super generous, Danny. I'm really, really touched. Thank you, my friend. One day you and I will meet, and one day I'll see what's under that wee baseball cap. Thank you, Danny. Thank you for the kind wishes. Mikey Hay saying, happy birthday for Sunday, Roy. Day before my wife's birthday, I'll be raising a dram to you while I'm wrapping presents. Mikey Hay. I managed to meet Mikey. If I go back now, my goodness, that was pre-pandemic, Mikey, that you and I were able to meet up in Glasgow. It was a really nice day. I remember where we ate. I've got a vague recollection of what we ate together, and it'd be nice to meet again, my friend. Mikey Hay, Danny, and of course, my pal Gene Kelly, who I've not even met yet. Thank you very, very much for the kind wishes. Very much looking forward to my birthday now. Happy birthday. You'll always be a 50-year-old to me. That's what we need to hang on to, Jimmy, right? We need to hang on to that. It's kind of funny that I turned 54 on Sunday, and I'm kind of ambivalent about it because I think since I turned 53, I've had 54 in my head. The trouble is Sunday, maybe I'll start to think about 55, and I'm really not ready to do that. But I'm sitting here in front of you. I'm having a very, very nice time talking about the thing I love more than anything, in a community I love more than any other community I've ever experienced in my life. It is a privilege here to face my 54th birthday in these conditions. Fantastic. No, I'm not going to recommend this Annandale to you right now based on this, but suddenly at this price point, 50, 60, 70 pounds, I'm suddenly in a place where I'm willing to explore. Down here, just outer, maybe within reach or out of reach, I've got another Annandale, and you can see, despite this being from a bottler that I trust very, very much, I've not taken a lot out of the top. I think they've still to show their colours. Might be one of those whiskies that needs to just mature. It needs to just get good or something. Still just lies on the periphery, doesn't it? And I just can't put my finger on why that is. I want them to succeed. It is beautiful. The cafe is wonderful. The visitor experience is perfect. The aesthetics is amazing. They are amazing. You must take the detour to go and see what's happening at that distillery, but be very judicious when you go to the whiskey shop, I guess. Try before you buy. This has given me encouragement. I think it's interesting. I think I need to try more. I think I need to see what they're all about. Interestingly, it was the last out of all those distilleries from the original Ignored series back in January of 2021. I pushed that out to the end. It's all about the price point, the money they were asking, £100 plus, every time I went to look at their product. Where's Roy, my pal from Norway, Roy Overmeer, fantastic guy, fantastic. Spent the weekend with us in Limburg. He said, happy birthday for Sunday, Roy, and many thanks for last weekend. Good times. So he was always Roy Overmeer until one time on a train, I panicked and wondered where Roy was, and I shouted, where's Roy? Only to discover he was sitting at my left-hand side. Cheers, my friend. Cheers to you. Whiskey with Molly. Ben is saying, Aquavite, you'll always be a NAS to me. There's a great statement. I want to be a non-age statement. And Lars Whiskey Redder's bought me a dram as well. Is that a wee? Oh, it's maracas. He's thrown maracas at me. Thank you very, very much, Lars. Superstar. Thank you for your dram. Cheers to you. I think you're in Canada. I want to say Canada, my friend. Listen, if there's anyone that is thinking about hanging out for the quiz at the end tonight, I have deliberately tried to pitch the quiz as a very, very typical vPub quiz. Lots of fairness, lots of kind of pitched at you guys, the whiskey geeks and things, and a good chance of at least 2 or 3 or 4 or maybe more people squeezing a 10 out of 10 tonight. It would be amazing if we managed to achieve that. What are we at? 1 hour, just short of 2 hours. But I want to share a story with you before I go. I want to talk about something that is fundamental to everything that the vPub is all about. I'm just going to put a banner up here to say, got a whiskey club? Because if you have a whiskey club, congratulations. You're now in the realm of one of the most amazing communities and funnest things to do with whiskey, to get together with like-minded folk to share the cost, to share the shared experience, to everything, and just enjoy what a whiskey club brings. There have been so many whiskey clubs founded in this community, in this very channel. Of course, the Whiskey Tube community in a much wider sense, but even in this individual singular channel, there have been whiskey clubs founded, and I want to help that going forward. So if you have a whiskey club that's starting out and you need a shout out, I'm here. I've always been here. If you're thinking about starting a club because there is nobody around you, start it and I'll give you a shout out. Contact me, just whisky@aquavitae.com, through Patreon, through any of the direct messages or social media platforms you want to use. I will help you build your club. I will help people get together wherever you exist. Let me tell you a story that I will get through without becoming emotional or shedding a tear. There's a few clubs being born out of the Aqua Vitae channel, but there's a club that was born back just as COVID kicked in. They were getting together, were trying to get their first night together, and eventually their first night together ended up being a virtual night. And I was lucky enough to be invited along, and I've joined them since. Through their exploration and through their geekery and things like that, they explored and they did more and more, and they bought a wee cask here and bought a wee cask there. And recently they went up to bottle their first cask from Auchie Distillery, one of the most gorgeous destinations you can ever set foot on in Scotland. And they went up there to pick up their bottled cask. On the way back down, they stopped by in Scotland. It was Billy Saunders and the superstar Tom Lindsay, who's now working at White Peak Wireworks. They stopped by in Glasgow to give me a bottle from that cask. Amazing, right? Here's where the tears come on. They decided, in order to honour the fact that their club was founded in this channel, they decided to gift me bottle number 1. Can you see here? Bottle 1 of their cask. This is a peated Auchie. It's 60, I think it's 60. Where is it? 57.4%, sorry. From a peated, matured in a bespoke Speyside cask. They only yielded 46, it's 21 of 46. This is their founder's bottling number 1. I think they got 40 something bottles from it. Not very, very much. And just, they gave bottle number 1 to me just to mark it. So I was kind of so shocked by it that I decided it was clearly something. I don't collect ornaments. I don't buy bottles in order to just have them to look at. I want the liquid to drink. But that is so much of a kind of milestone type thing to be given bottle 1 from their cask, and the reason because they founded their club. Anyway, it sits up here for now, and I said, okay, I tell you what, I have to find a way to buy another bottle so I can open it and drink it, and that's what I'm going to do tonight. So I managed to purchase bottle number 41 from the same cask, thanks to the Nottingham Whisky Association. I need to get the cellophane off. Here's something I prepared earlier for such things. And that's what I'm going to finish on tonight. So let me say, if you have a whiskey club and if you're getting people together over whiskey, you can be guaranteed of a few things. You'll be guaranteed that they are good people. Now, if you tip Auchie from this side, you get a glug. Maybe not. You'll be guaranteed to have good times, and you'll be guaranteed to help each other discover fantastic whiskey. To everyone down at the Nottingham Whisky Club, it'd be difficult. To James, to Tom, to Billy, to Fraser, to, oh my God, I can't. So many that have been here for many, many years, and apologies for forgetting who you are right now. I'm going to raise this very smoky, very peaty that's filling the room with smoke and peat right now. Congratulations to you and your Whisky Club and everything that you've achieved in the last 2 or 3 years. And raise a glass to everything that I can help other Whisky Clubs achieve in the future. It would be a privilege for me to get more and more people together across the planet. Thank you. And it helps that it's bloody good whiskey too. Bloody good whiskey. A grain of malt. Good to see you, my friend. He's saying happy birthday for Sunday, Roy. May all these super chats add up to a 33-year-old Adelphi Mortlach. So that's my pal. Loved his company. James from Sweden. James from Australia, actually. But James from Sweden, wonderful guy to hang out with, a wonderful guy to chat to. Look forward to raising a glass with you next time, my friend. Thank you very much for your generosity. And here's to shared experiences along the lines of that Mortlach that we had last weekend. Too slow, Rob. What are you doing? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rob, saying happy birthday. He's only saying happy birthday. He's been around forever. Too slow, Rob. He's always there, quiet in the background, a man of very few words, and just brilliant to have the reassurance of you constantly being here. Cheers, Rob. Jimmy Legg buying me a dram from Canada as well, saying, my Whisky Club is in Scotland at a wee bar in Charing Cross. The Bonaccord he's talking about. They meet every September for the rest of my life. Thanks to everyone who comes along. Well, that is it. It's official, Jimmy. I don't know what we're going to call it this year. It's up to the community to name it. But it seems like I have a sacrosanct weekend in September once more this year. If we're going to have a gathering, may it be everything that it was last year. Just fantastic. Just fantastic. Less pressure on you, my friend. But I'm glad that you're traveling here to the place that you said you would never see, that you would never make it to. Not only have you done that, but you're coming back again for another visit. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, James. And thank you, Jimmy Blair. All right. That's a bloody good Rassie. It's a very good Rassie. Enough chitty chatty. It's time to roll in to the quiz at the end. Like I say, I've tried to balance this one. I've tried to make it fair. I've tried to do my very, very best. Let's see how we get along. Remember, you're just playing against yourselves. It's multiple choice. It's just for fun. You only need to share the score if you want to. You might find that it is fun. You might find that it's cheeky and it's all of these things. Helen is here. Good to see you. Can we talk Roy into stowing away on the ferry to Islay, Jimmy Legg? I like the way you think, Helen. Let's go for that. All right, everybody. I wish you the very, very best for the quiz at the end. We'll draw this thing to a close. And I can roll into my birthday weekend with warm and fuzzy thoughts about all of you and all the clubs that you have already formed or you might form in the future. Question 1. It's always easy, isn't it? Unless it's a banana skin. Which of these has already happened in 2024? We're in May, but I'm looking for the things that have already happened in 2024. A. Isle of Harris has released another 6 batches of single malt. B. Strathearn released their inaugural. Or C. Inchdairney released a single malt with a partial Palo Cortado finish. Graham Fraser's bought me a wee dram, saying greetings from Speyside, Roy. Have a great birthday. Graham, I know you're going to have an absolute blast up there, my friend. A wee bit jealous of you. You are just... We joked at the club on Tuesday night that there are like 6 Graham Frasers because he's everywhere, always, all of the time. Thank you, my friend. Cheers. I hope you enjoy the festival. Cheers. What's already happened this year? Isle of Harris has released another 6 batches of its single malt. Strathearn has released their inaugural, or Inchdairney has released a single malt with a Palo Cortado finish. Lots of people going for B, 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 B. I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it, I like that. I'm not tripping you up with the banana skin. Usually the opening question ensures that no one goes home with a donut. Everybody, it's just whether you answer A, B, or C, it's right. That's not the case tonight. You've spotted by the banana skin there to be careful. It's not the case tonight. Graham Young is saying B and C, and he's absolutely right, because Isle of Harris have released another 4 batches of single malt, not 6. Strathearn did release their inaugural, and Inchdearney did release an exclusive through the Whisky Shop and a partial Palo Cortado finish. You would have picked it up if you're a Dram Face reader. You would have picked up the review. I think it was from Fergus earlier this week. Fantastic review it was too. Question 2. Whitlaw is made at which Highland distillery? Where is Whitlaw made? A. Whitlaw is made at Tomatin, or B. Whitlaw is made at Balblair, or C. Whitlaw is made at Highland Park. Where is Whitlaw made? Terrific stuff. Such knowledgeable whiskey folk. If you're ever in doubt, and if you're ever wondering, and if you're ever guessing a wee bit, just roll with the crowd. Whitlaw is absolutely made at Highland Park. Highland Park, if you ever see Whitlaw on the shelf, know immediately it's well in Highland Park, and it's usually pretty good stuff too. Question 3. Which of these brands was the first of its kind to have Japanese ownership? Which was the first to have Japanese ownership? A. Bowmore in Islay, B. Tomatin in the Highlands, or C. Ardmore in the Highlands? 2 out of 2 for Gene Kelly. Graham Fraser. Daisy is in. Daisy, good to see you. Wonderful to spend time in your company at the weekend in Frankfurt and Limburg. Wonderful to have you when you're in Glasgow too. Danny Heavens on 2. Bryce Bernard is on 2. Rob Smith on 2. Easy so far. Trying to see what everyone's guessing. Which was the first of Japanese ownership? Bowmore, Tomatin, or Ardmore? Tentatively to begin with. Everyone's tentative. There's no banana skin here. Just go with your gut. Going with the crowd here, says Greg Stafford. That's a good strategy, and it's full of B's. B for Barfly. Absolutely spot on. Takara Shuso took over in 1986, and it was the first Japanese ownership in the Scotch whisky industry. Obviously, Beam Suntory are involved now as well. But B was the answer I was looking for as we go on to question 4. Ardnahoe, as Helen pointed out earlier, will release its inaugural whisky next week. After 5 years of waiting, what else is true about this release? A. It was the first new Islay release in 20 years. B. It's made using nearby loch water. Or C. It's the only Islay malt made using worm tubs. Ardnahoe is coming out on the 10th of May. After waiting 5 years before they released, what else is true? It's the first new Islay malt in 20 years. It's made using nearby loch water. Or C, it's the only Islay malt made using worm tubs. My first time in Scotland was the 80s, said Sugar Kitty, and Tomatin was already then. Sugar Kitty, you've been to Scotland? Maybe you'll come again. Maybe we'll get a chance to raise a glass and shake a hand. What do you think? Willie Dollier is in. Good to see you, buddy. You keeping well? I can tell you that Ardnahoe will be released. It is the only Islay malt made using worm tubs. They also make it using their nearby loch water, although the bottling plant, the reduction water, not so much, but it's valid. And the first new Islay release in 15 years, not 20. Kilchoman was 2009. So 15 years ago, Kilchoman was here. So it was B and C. There's a chance for you to get either B or C for a 4 out of 4. Stephen Wilson is saying, have a happy birthday. Sorry, I have to take off. Enjoy the quiz, everyone. Stephen, I hope you'll come back and tell us how you scored. Thank you very much for your kind wishes. Good night, my friend. Question 5 is always a picture. Hold on to your heads for the picture question tonight. Look at this. Everyone's on a 4 out of 4. Very, very strong performance tonight. Falsgraf has decided he's already failing the picture quiz by suggesting 4 out of 5. Terrific. Here's the picture question. Ass Hattery of a new kind tonight. We're looking at a still house, but it's an upside down still house, right? And I'm just going to ask you, is this picture a picture of the distillery with the most stills? Is it the distillery with Speyside's largest mash tun? Or is it the distillery with the largest global sales in 2022, selling 20 million bottles? What distillery are we looking at? The most stills, biggest mash tun, or most sales in 2022? Ass Hattery in the picture question. Utter ass hattery. So everyone's swanning along, 4 out of 4, 4 out of 4, and suddenly a pass mark is looking dodgy. That is the nature of the quiz at the end. It is never going to be a giveaway. Look at this generosity that's come in tonight. Pedro's dram is still here. Both of Wook's generous drams are here. Danny's generous dram is here. And my pal Rob Too Slow is still here. The generous dram is still here. Thank you very much for making it a wee birthday stream for me. Thank you, Wook. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you, Danny. And thank you, Rob. Cheers. Okay. We have not only Ass Hattery, but a banana skin. Wow. I think this has rocked the wheels off most of you. I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to take a wee drink of water, and I'm going to give everyone the chance to follow Mike Molasses, okay? The distillery with the largest global sales in 2022 was Glenlivet. The distillery with the Speyside's largest mash tun, 17-ton mash tun, is Macallan. The distillery with the most stills is Glenlivet, the distillery that we're looking at. Now, we only see, I think, 12 a dozen stills in this still house here, but they have 43 stills on site at Glenfiddich Distillery. We're looking at Glenfiddich, just 12 of their 43 stills. So hopefully you changed and switched and followed Molasses Mike for that one. A is the right answer. Not only should it have had an asshat sticker, it should have potentially had a banana skin too. Question 6, everyone. Which of these distilleries celebrated 225 years last year in 2023? There's lots of kind of centenary and bicentenary celebrations. There are no centenary celebrations this year. They're all bicentenary, 200 years happening in 2024. But who was celebrating 225 years in 2023? Was it A, Highland Park? Was it B, Bamore? Or was it C, Macallan? Graham Fraser is killed it with a 5 out of 5. Pedro feels like cheating, 5 out of 5. Falsgraf, well, thank you, Roy, 5 out of 5. Klitz is saying 5 out of 5 feels like 4 out of 5. Demands 5 out of 5. Ian Bruce 5 out of 5. make a dram decision. That's a brilliant new name. 5 out of 5. Daisy is on 5 out of 5. Steve Atkins. Listen, if it feels like cheating, remember this is the birthday vPub. Okay, so it's happening tonight. Mike is saying that was the first time that being a rebel paid off. I was desperately searching, Mike, for an A. There might have been other A's there. Yours was the A that I saw. Jimmy is suggesting that some of Frank Peathead's underwear is 200 years old. You can only say that because you're friends now and you've met. Yes, absolutely well done, everyone, for working out that Highland Park celebrated 225 years in 2023. Let's keep this rolling. We want to see lots of 10 out of 10s tonight. Question 7, there is a wee banana skin there. Which of these distilleries had a name change as recently as 1993? Which distillery had a name change in 1993? I'm going to wait for Graham Fraser to see if he can type it in. Maybe not. Lots of 6 out of 6s. That's what I want to see. Fantastic. 1798, Sugar Kitty is suggesting, is a popular year. Well, there are other distilleries with a 1798. Just be very, very careful. A, Tobermory, B, Knockdhu, and C, Glenglassaugh. Sugar Kitty, you are an enigma to me. Fantastic. This discussion's about snooker happening tonight. 6 out of 6, 6 out of 6, lots and lots and lots of people. Okay, this is dangerous here. We're in dangerous territory here. Be careful of the banana skin. Be careful of the banana skin. James Costigan is saying A. Ian Bruce is shouting, watch the wording. It says distilleries, not whiskey. It does not say brand. It does not mention brand. Aris Tan has bought me a wee dram. I don't know what currency that is. I don't know where you are, Aris, but I'm going to say thank you very, very much for the dram right at the end. Cheers to you, my friend. Which of these distilleries had a name change? Has Knockdhu ever changed its name? Has Glenglassaugh ever changed its name? Mike Molasses is shouting AA. An enigma wrapped in a mystery in a tuna can, says Sugar Kitty. Gino has bought me a dram. Hey, hello, Roy, and all the barflies. Just a quick drop in from Halifax Airport. A wee dram for your birthday, buddy. Slancheva. Gino, thank you so much. We talked lots about you this weekend because, of course, Graham Young was in full attendance and he witnessed it with eye-popping, first-hand love and joy. I was worried about him the first 24 hours, and then I relaxed and just left him to his own devices, and he lapped it up. Cheers, Gino. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, the Annandale's a weird one. It continues to be a bit weird. Petehead is saying it's not said the name change must be of the distillery itself. Can be the whiskey. No. Which of these distilleries had a name change as recently as 1993? No, it's not brand. It's not whiskey. It's the distillery's name change. They changed the name of the distillery. I'm going to wait until everybody follows Mike. Make a dram decision. Lachlan McKenzie, Richard Hall, one of the NWA crowd. Sorry I missed you, buddy. It's good to see you. And Tom Elmer, Dorpass Whiskey, Chris Pollack. Follow these guys. Bruce is saying recant A. Well done, Bruce. Absolutely. It was originally founded as Tobermory. They renamed it as Lechik. What a weird thing to happen. I don't know what's going on there, but hopefully you can see that I hope the next slide isn't the same. It is Tobermory. That's just, why is that happening? It's a wee birthday card from Google Slides, I think. That's the count it is that. It is Tobermory. So if you answered A, you're absolutely right. Tobermory became Lechic, and then in 1993, when Burn Stewart bought them over, it became Tobermory again, and Lechic became their peated brand. We're doing well. Hopefully there's lots of people tonight with a very, very strong score. Please don't consider that the ass hat is going to be a let-off. Question 8, which of these Flora and Fauna bottles features a Scottish wildcat on the label? We're looking for a Flora and Fauna bottling with a wildcat on the label. Is it A, Clynelish, B, Glenelgan, or C, Benrinnes? Direct denial of service attack from your complexion, Roy Lol. No. We're okay so far, Mikey. We're okay. Scotland has wildcats. Yeah, they're very, very shy, Jimmy. Very shy. Just don't corner them because they're also very angry and stinky. Current flora and fauna, says Klitzt. I like the way you think. A Scottish wildcat, so a tabby, says Tom Elmer. Well, it might not be the kind of wildcats that you get in North America and Northern Asia and all of these kind of crazy places, but we do have wildcats. Mike Molasses is saying, oh, banana skin. I know Clynelish is a cat, but I don't recall the flora and fauna bottle images. Well, it's it's kind of a banana skin, but not. Everyone's suggesting A. Daisy is saying A. Make a Dram Decision is saying A. Chris Pollack. Let's see what Mike Molasses is going with. He's not committed yet. Klitz is saying A. Lachlan McKenzie is saying B. Ian Bruce is saying A. Danny Hibbington is saying A. Rob Smith is saying A. Mikey Hayes is saying A. Pedro Menezes is saying A. Dave the Brave, looks like a brand new name, shouting A. Fantastic. Dave the Brave, nice to welcome you in. James Morgan is laughing and saying, I'll trust to a Clynelish, but go for B. Oh, Pedro Menezes is saying a banana skin because of the Glenelgan. And Whisky Rev is here tonight. All the best people have birthdays this week. Graham, if you were in early, I did raise a wee glass to say happy birthday. But now I know that you're in, I'm going to raise a glass specifically of this wee dram that you'll recognise. This Benrinnes 15 that you and I would have more than likely discovered together. And I'll say many happy returns to you, my friend. Cheers to the Whisky Rev. Now, Graham, tell us which of the Flora and Fauna bottles has a Scottish wildcat on the label. It is a banana skin, but not really. It is Clynelish. Flora and Fauna does have, or did have, a Clynelish bottling. I'll try and show you this. This is an old Clynelish Flora and Fauna, and you can maybe see the wildcat on the label there. Long Gone was replaced by the extended Flora and Fauna that did also include the Glenelgan. So here we have it. 8 out of 8 is all over the place. Really excited to see that. We've got a good chance of getting a 10 out of 10 tonight, despite the ass hattery at the end. The penultimate is an official bottle of Craigellachie. Features what on the top of its cork? So if you were to look at the top of a Craigellachie cork, what would it have there? Would it have A, a Doig ventilator or pagoda roof? Would it have B, a pot still? Or C, a hogshead? A, a Doig ventilator, pagoda roof, B, a pot still, or C, a hogshead. What would a bottle of official Craigellachie have in the cork? Just before we hit the ass hat question at the end, we need to get lots of people over this 9 out of 9. Consider what makes Craigellachie unique. What is attached to the thing that makes Craigellachie unique? Follow Mike, molasses tonight. Peter Lee is going for a B. Pedro is going for a B. Mickey Hayes going for a B. Graham Fraser is saying, I'm holding back here and giving me a wee wink. I like the way you play, Graham. Tommy Elmer is saying, I have to say, I just did a Google search for Scottish Wildcat. It is a tabby. Compared to regular Wildcats, it is a tabby. It's an angry tabby. It's very representative of the Scottish psyche, I think, Tom. Small, but fast and jaggy and stinky. John Morris is saying worm tub. Absolutely. So what's attached to a worm tub? Would you attach a pagoda roof to a worm tub? Or would you attach a pot still to a worm tub? Or would you attach a hogshead to a worm tub? Mike Molasses is saying a spicy tabby. B if I squink, but it's sure a pot still. Okay. I can tell you that indeed I should grab a bottle to show you, but it's you just need to trust me that on the cork of an official bottle of Craigellachie is a pot still. So if you said B, you are intact. How many people are on 9 out of 9? Steve Atkiss, Mike Molasses, Chris Pollack, Gene Kelly, Donald Pass Whisky, Bruce Bernard, Hellswood, Domans, good to see Domans, Nicholas, good to see Nicholas, Make a Dram Decision. Hoyt Hemphill is on 9 out of 9 as well, Hoyt, so good to see you. Where's Roy in Norway? 9. Ian Bruce, 9. Dave Leland in the chat jumps because there's so many 9s. Okay, so we're now hanging on the ass hattery at the end to see how many people can get a birthday 10 out of 10. I have not been kind for the ass hat at the end, but it is possible. There are currently 12 Scotch malt distilleries under the Pernod Ricard Chivas Brother ownership. But I'm asking you, how many did they own at the turn of the century? They've got 12 today, but as 1999 rolled into 2000, how many Scotch malt distilleries did Pernod Ricard own? Was it about the same as A, the number of operational distilleries on Islay by next year? B, about the same as the number of years that Ailsa Bay has been operational? Or is it C, the number of distilleries beginning with Glen? When 1999 rolled into 2000, how many distilleries, Scotch malt distilleries, were under the ownership of Pernod Ricard? They have 12 today. How many was it 24 years ago? The same as the amount of operational distilleries by next year I'm talking about on Islay. Was it B, the number of years Ailsa Bay has been in operation? Or is it the number of distilleries beginning with Glen? Glengyle, Glenfiddich, Glenwivis, Glendronach, all the Glens. It's going to be tricky. If I can give you a clue, let's just look for Mike. Let's look for Molasses Mike. Let's see if Mike can kick it home. Let's see if he can carry it over the final hurdle. We're looking for Molasses Mike. You've led everyone all night, Mike. The Whiskey Rev is quiet. He's holding his water. He's saying it's the 8th anniversary of I Don't Like Any of That, which is what prompted me to come along tonight. Wow. That's Roberto and I. And you, buddy, and the tasting room at Glenfiddich. And Roberto just sweeping them all aside and saying, I don't like any of it. It's amazing. Mike is suggesting he's got to go with B, and he's saying the number of years that Ailsa Bay has been operational. I have to say, I like the way that Molasses Mike has been swinging tonight. He's hit everything clean out of the park. Please continue. Spitball B, says John Morris. It's a good spitball. It's a good spitball. Okay, I'm going to tell you that operational distilleries on Islay by next year is somewhere in the order of 11 or 12. Number of years Ailsa Bay has been operational is 17. Number of distilleries beginning with Glen is 26, which means that Mike Molasses is right. B is correct. So we have at least one 10 out of 10 tonight. We have at least one celebrating. Let's see who we have. I can't change 3 times, says Mikey Hay. I'll stick with my wrong answer. I appreciate your integrity and your honour, my friend, but it means you have to come back and try for another 10 out of 10 in the future. Who do we have? Sugar Kitty celebrating a 10 out of 10. Fantastic. Fantastic, Sugar Kitty. Graham Young, 10 out of 10. What an end to a week for you, buddy. Ian Bruce is celebrating a 10 out of 10. Hell's Wood is whooping a 10 out of 10. Fantastic. Nicholas, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for Steve Atkins. 8 out of 10 for Greg Lassie. Lassie, good to see you in. Dave the Brave on a 9. So close, so close. Snapper XV on a 9 as well. Donner Pass Whisky celebrating his 10. There's lots of 10s tonight. This is excellent. Rob Smith. Daisy has got a 10 as well. And her Pink Barfly and a 10. Graham Fraser, 10 out of 10. Lucky to get 2 weeks in a row. Graham, you're the example to everyone. The pressure is on you, my friend. Where's Roy in Norway on a 10? Bruce Bernard on a 10. Fantastic. I only care that I got an asshat right, says Mike Molasses. Mike, you got a lot tonight. You got a lot right tonight. I am very, very tired. Had a very, very good night, a very, very good year, very, very good week. Everything has been fantastic. I'm looking forward to next week. I'm looking forward to whenever Roddy can recover and join us again. That was going to be a good thing. I think it would be better if we get some samples together and we involve the community a wee bit more too. I think it'd be good fun. But we managed to pull together a good fun vPub. I've certainly enjoyed myself. Anyway, Ian Bruce is saying, don't know what I'm most excited about, the 10 or that we landed to buy our first Aussie house. Well, it's both things that we should raise a glass to. And Mark, Ian, congratulations to you in the first house and congratulations on the 10 out of 10 as well. Cheers. Danny is saying 10 out of 10. Thanks, Mike Molasses. Cheers, Mr. Duff, for the pass. Danny, you're very, very welcome. Thank you for the ridiculously generous dram tonight. I hope I can repay that one day soon, buddy. Peter is saying, with that, I call it a day. Great to have you around, Frank, till the very, very end. It's very late in the evening for you. Thank you, as always. He said, thanks for organising Aquavita, and of course, a happy birthday. And to all of you, see you next time. Slanchava. Cheers, Frank. Thank you very, very much. And Mike Molasses saying, have a very happy birthday. Jumps. He said on Sunday, Roy. Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. Falsgraph is saying this was a fabulous vPub. Roddy is missing, but as long as he will come in the future, I'm good. Thanks, Roy, for a nice night. Have a good birthday. Aye, here's to Roddy coming in the future. Cheers, Klaus. Greg Stafford is celebrating being a member of Barfly, saying, cheers again, Roy, and all the Barflies. And Helen is celebrating being a member as well. She's for 49 months in Fab Fun vPub. Have an amazing birthday, Roy. Thank you so much, Andy, and thank you so much, Helen. Thank you all. Chris is saying, thank you for a great vPub. Enjoy your birthday. And Matt Horsham is saying, happy birthday for the weekend, big man. And Whiskey and Wine Trails, Tom, thank you, Roy. Enjoy your Cinco de Mayo. Have some mezcal. That's a good way to bring it in. I like the way you think in the Southwest US there, Tom. Listen, thank you, everybody. Thank you for helping me put together a last-minute vPub. Well, it wasn't a last minute because I had some things in place. I had to grab a couple of things to complete the picture. But it means that after 6 episodes of The Ignored, we've now covered everything in the original list. Good news. The bad news, or the different news, is that there has since been other distilleries added to that ignored list since, as we've discovered tonight. So it might mean at some point in the future, maybe next year, maybe the year after, whenever, there might be yet another ignored vPub to add to the playlist that's now on the homepage. While we wait to discover what those are, I'm going to raise this glass to you all. Sorry I can't make the lock-in this weekend. It means that it's going to be a week on Sunday now. But it'll be all the more worthwhile, I'm sure, when we get there. I'll be able to hang out with a wee relaxed session with you all a week on Sunday. Until then, thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your kind words and your good wishes. And especially thank you for the happy birthday wishes. I'll raise this glass to remind you all that you're very dearly loved, and I look forward to seeing you next Thursday night for another vPub. Sláinte mhath.